Greetings and welcome to the Comics Coffee Mellow podcast. Today is a very special episode because not only is it the month of June, which means Kaijune, where we celebrate things kaiju, for the first time in the history of the show, I'm devoting some episodes specifically to kaiju chatter, talk, whatever. And this episode in particular has been in the works for, I want to say, at least a year. Because my one of my guests today was on last year, and at the very end of our, I think, great conversation, I didn't realize that he's a huge kaiju fan with all these awesome kaiju toys in the background. And then on top of that, one of the people I value most as a fellow creator and peer in the industry, Shawn Pryor, literally wrote the book on kaiju, Kaiju Unleashed. I have it right here. It's amazing. So yeah, I'm excited to talk about our favorite kaiju films and do a little fun ranking of some Godzilla stuff. So without further ado, Balasz Lorinczi, Shawn Pryor, gentlemen, thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It's been a long time. I'm glad to be back.
Yeah, Shawn, you are massively overdue to be back on the show because you were on in the early days before I even started doing the video stuff, which it's still relatively recent, but like and you again, like you when I saw that you were literally writing, a great book about kaiju, I'm like, I gotta go. I had it pre-ordered for like however long you could have pre-ordered it for, just waiting for it to come. I love it. My daughter loves it. It's amazing. So before we delve into all this fun kaiju talk, Shawn, could you let us know, who you are, what's Kaiju Unleashed, and where did you first fall in love with kaiju?
Okay. My name is Shawn Pryor. I'm a writer of many things, ranging from comic books, graphic novels, children's books, chapter books, YA novels. I've also written films about movies, such as Kaiju Unleashed. And with Kaiju Unleashed, it's I like to call it a tome of information
Definitely
regarding
is.
kaiju cinema and the history of like Godzilla, a truncated history of Godzilla, and like how the suits were created. How E.G. Tsuburaya was the innovator of special effects, which they call tokusatsu in Japan, and how big of an influence he was. As well as oh, I'm always bad with names. I'm so bad with names, so forgive me on this video because I have the book right here because I can't remember everybody's name. Uh, Tomoyuki Tanaka, one of the major producers for Godzilla, who was inspired by an American monster movie way back in the day. So we get to talk about that influence, but we talk about all the different eras of Godzilla. Whether it be Showa, Heisei, MIllenium, Reiwa. We talk about, King Kong. We talk about Gamera.
Yeah.
We briefly talk about Rodan because Rodan had one movie on their own. We also talk about other international kaiju. Shouts out to Gorgo. And we also talk about, American kaiju cinema as well. Where I literally plug that Eight-Legged Freaks is actually a very good monster kaiju adjacent film.
Yeah.
So,
I agree.
But we talk about not just movies, we talk about comic books, we talk about novels, we talk about video games, we talk about toys, we talk about the vinyl toys. We briefly talk about that. We also talk about things like Hotel Gracery in Japan, which has a Godzilla head peering over it.
Mm-hmm.
And at night, like the eyes light up and like atomic breath, which is just steam shoots out from the top of the hotel. And they have like 2 Godzilla hotel rooms in the hotel where not only can you see Godzilla's, the big Godzilla head, but there's all types of Godzilla paraphernalia in said hotel rooms. It's fascinating. Like to be able to like squeeze in as all this information over a short window of time that I had to write the book, it was a blast. It was an absolute blast, and like I'm glad now that I can share it with everyone. It's done very well, and people really like it, and I'm thankful for that. Now, as far as what brought me to kaiju, when I was little, I was like 4 or 5 years old. It was a summer. It was a Saturday, which means I could stay up late. And like I was excited. I was like, oh, good, I get to stay up late. Cause my mom like loved watching like the late movie. Okay. And so like, for those, like, for those that may not be aware, back in like the 70s and 80s, there used to be on in American television, because cable was still a new thing. So your
Yeah.
VHF and UHF channels, sometimes you would have a person that would host a late night movie show.
Hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
I would say like the current one is like Svengoolie, who's been around for a long
Yeah.
time. The character's been around
Yeah.
for a very long time, or Elvira for that matter, because there's a period
Yes.
of time where
Yes.
Elvira was hosting,
Yep.
late night movie features and stuff like that. So,
Hmm.
so like my mom was watching one of those shows, and like she was flipping through channels and she saw it, and I was like, oh, okay, well that's cool. I'm very tired. It's like midnight, and I'm like, I'm going to go to bed. And so, as I'm walking up the steps, I hear the Godzilla sound for the very first time. And I'm like, what's that? So then I run back downstairs, and like it's Destroy All Monsters is on television.
Oh, perfect.
And so
Perfect.
like so I see Godzilla, and then I see this other kaiju and this other kaiju. I'm like, oh my god. So I was like, Mom, can I stay up and finish watching this with you? She's like, yeah. And that became a thing for us. Okay. Like that became a
Nice.
thing for us. So like she would check the TV guide to see like any other time like a Godzilla movie would play, and we would watch them together. And so
That's
like
awesome.
that really became a very like special part of my life. And and so like that's where it started, and it's never left.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Love to hear that. Yeah, those. Our ages are not too far apart. I'm born in '82, so there's still plenty of that late night movie
Hmm.
things happening. And then I was there for a bit for the cable, but I'll get into my journey after our next guest finishes his, because Balash, I've been wanting to get this podcast, us talking about kaiju, for ever since the end of our last one, and you've been very instrumental in like figuring out what is this going to look like. What is this discussion going to look like, other than us just gushing about giant lizards smashing buildings. So thank you for that. But you are a very talented artist and writer. I loved your book that came out last year, Wolfpitch. You have another one coming out called A Bite of Pepper, which
Yep.
we will have our own separate podcast in August to chat about when that drops. But Balash, feel free to talk about any of your books right now, and what was your first, when did you fall in love with kaiju for the first time?
Okay, first of all, I want to say that you showed off the Kaiju Unleashed there, like side and everything. It looks hella sexy.
Yeah.
I'm getting
Oh,
that book.
Yeah.
thank you.
I love the just like the sides. It's the colored paper on the side. It's just
Yeah,
like,
like I didn't know that they were going to do that. Like I had no
yeah,
idea the
that's
publisher
awesome,
was going to
man.
do that. Like because my editor, who was amazing, Katie McGuire, amazing editor, right? And she helped like lay out the book and everything, right? So when my comp copies come in and I pull the book out, I'm like, oh, this book is dense. And when I turn it to the side and I see like the purple lining on the
Yeah.
outer pages, oh, I freaked the hell out. I was like, this is amazing. I was like, I
Nice.
won. I felt like if
Yeah.
this was the lottery, I won, because this is the one of the
Awesome.
most beautiful looking books I've ever seen in my entire life.
Yeah, it
Yes.
looks like
It's
deluxe. Like, yeah, I'll get that definitely. Right. So my name is Balasz Lorinczi. I'm a Hungarian comic book artist, but I reside in Scotland for a long time now, just to explain my accent basically. And if I mispronounce something or say something weirdly, that's because I'm Hungarian. I'm a graphic novel artist. I do like YA graphic novels. Basically, I have two books out so far. One of them is called Donuts and Doom, and the other one is called Wolfpitch, which we did a podcast about last year with Don. And my third book comes out August 26th. It's called Bite of Pepper, and it's about a skateboarding vampire girl, basically. That comes out from Simon and Schuster and McElderry Books. And I have another book coming out end of next year. That's called Dream Girl Disaster. So look forward to that. But if you want to see my books, you can just obviously Google my name, or Donuts and Doom is probably the easiest one, or go to any of my socials. It's just BALAKIN. As far as my connection to kaiju, I'm no authority on any kaiju things. I just really like kaiju movies, and that's the reason I got excited to just do a podcast with Don and Shawn about it. Um, as far as how I discovered like the genre, I know like Americans like Shawn. You're in America, right?
Yes,
Shawn.
yes, I am.
Yeah,
Yes.
okay, yeah. So I know that you guys had that like the late night cable stuff, and like most people
Yeah.
seen like the Godzilla versus or Kong versus Godzilla, the original, like a million
Hmm.
times, like the show era. We didn't have that in Hungary when I was born in '86, so similar in age to you guys, but we had like 2.5 TV channels all throughout, like until the late 90s. So my grandparents had like German satellite channels like ProSieben and RTL coming in. So I was watching some stuff in German sometimes. And I've seen bits and like I can't remember what Godzilla movie it was. I remember Mothra. I always knew Mothra exists. And I always knew Godzilla, but I never seen like a Godzilla movie in full until the Roland Emmerich one, which I was really excited for because I just seen the trailer and I thought this shit is for me. A giant lizard. I know the name Godzilla. Yes.
I have to say the teaser trailer for that American Godzilla movie,
T-Rex skeleton.
regardless of the quality of the final product, it's still one of the best damn teaser trailers to ever exist. It was like one of the few times, like in the theater, when that came up, that I experienced people being just hyped about what was happening. And if anyone's unfamiliar with that, just real quick, it's basically like these kids in a museum, they're looking at a fossil of a T-Rex, and all of a sudden things start shaking. Everyone's like, what's going on? And then this just giant Godzilla foot comes down, crushes the T-Rex, and walks off. And like that's all you see of them. And this is coming right after like the pinnacle of Jurassic Park. So like, people are like, oh, you think the T-Rex was fucking awesome? Wait, do you see this? And then that movie came out. But still, that teaser trailer, that is still something that is just, untouchable, I think, in terms of how effective it was.
I don't hate that movie. I think it has a mood I like. We're gonna talk about it, but
we'll talk about it. Yeah, we'll get to it.
When I was a kid, I generally loved it when I was a kid. Now, obviously, I have a different opinion. But after that, like I always like it's a kaiju and like giant monsters. It's always back in my head. Like, if I see that type of stuff, then I'm gonna watch it because it's like a geeky thing. So I like sci-fi, I like fantasy, I like comics. Giant monsters. It's just another one of those things that I like. And then Pacific Rim came out, and it just changed my brain chemistry. But for a while, it was mainly for mechs. Went into the Gundam things, and then it flipped over, and now like I like mechs, but like the love kind of like just disappeared for that a bit. But the kaiju love stayed on. So the first full Godzilla movie I've seen, other than like first Japanese one, because I feel like I've seen the 2014 one before Shin Godzilla, but then I seen Shin Godzilla, and I thought, whoa, this is fucking lit. So let's see what else is there. And then I started my journey. So you could say I'm a latecomer, but it's something that it was gestating in my brain basically for like 3 decades. And then finally the spark got ignited, and then I got deep into it and got a hyper fixation. I got all these Godzilla figures and Gamera figures behind me. And I just watch everything, obviously the movies, try to watch all the main releases. So like the animated series, Monarch, that type of stuff. But I don't work professionally anything kaiju related. Maybe one day.
Yet.
I find them hard to draw. I was sketching Godzilla today. I'm just so used to drawing humans.
I recently did a drawing of Destroya.
Oh yeah, I've seen that. Awesome.
And I absolutely love drawing it because you can just be very noodly with him. But also I'll be like, man, if I had to do this page after page after page, like I would probably love it, but I would probably be like, I can do this like once, and then step away.
The James Stocco one, right? The Century War.
Yeah. I have a bunch of Godzilla collections here that's collecting a whole bunch of the stuff because for a while, every time we went to the comic shop, my daughter would be like, let's get a new Godzilla book, and like she wouldn't read it, but she would say, let's get it for me.
Right.
Yeah. Yes. She has much better taste than I. So anything I could say, like, I picked this thing, it's really good. It's like, my daughter clocked it earlier than me.
I was just thinking of that book because that's like James Stocco's style is like a lot of lines, and he draws everything in that book.
It is insanity. Pure insanity.
Not to
it's interesting.
Other artists to draw Godzilla, just his style is like obviously very detail oriented.
Yes. Yeah, it's there's no shortcuts. There's no shortcuts. You kind of almost wish he would, just for his own sanity's sake. But but that again, that's probably how he keeps saying, by doing all of that.
It's as well as like as an artist, you look at it and you just feel the anxiety knowing how much work.
Yeah, it's nuts. It's nuts. It's interesting to hear that the Roland Emmerich one was your first one, because
As far as I remember,
not that
yeah.
we're going to talk about metal much, but like at all, or really at all, but like it kind of reminds me of like how I got into Metallica. I got in during a very divisive era with the load reload era,
Oh,
but then I went back and I loved everything. And so
mm,
it's just like it doesn't matter, it goes to show like it doesn't matter how you got in. The matter is you're here,
You're in. Yeah,
And
you're,
yeah.
so
people
like
get
just
Star Wars with
let's
Attack of the
enjoy.
Clones.
Yeah, yeah,
So what?
it's nuts. Yeah. So,
Whoever
well,
gets you.
thank you for sharing your, thank you both for sharing your journey to kaiju with us. Real quick for myself, you know, there wasn't a time where I didn't know Godzilla existed. Like either it was from like the old NES game that was impossible to play. It was kind of like it had the side-scrolling thing, and then it had like the chessboard movements. Like I was just like, I have no idea what this is.
Oh,
I
yeah.
didn't know how to play it. Just my brother would get us to the point where we're doing the side-scrolling part, and then he would let us play. Um, but like my earliest like full-fledged memory of like really sitting down and watching a kaiju movie is actually the Mystery Science Theater 3000 Gamera episode of Super Monster, I think it was,
Hmm.
the collection one, which,
Is that one
you
of the late
know,
ones?
I thought, of course, what's that?
Is it one of the later ones when they ran out of budget? Like the one with the three superhero women? Is that the one? Super Monster.
Yeah, I believe it's the one where like it was a clip show, a movie
Yeah.
essentially,
It's
where
like
they clipped a
the
whole bunch of
last
them together.
bit.
But for me, that was like it had all the monster, it had all this stuff happening. It was like, and on top of like MST3K making the jokes and all that, and I was at the age where it's like the jokes were funny, but it didn't make me like say, "Man, this movie sucks." It's just like, no, I'm enjoying this movie and I'm enjoying the funny things you're saying about it. Um, and then from there, like it would be like Shawn said, I would catch them, late night or early morning, Saturdays. My parents at some point they acquired cable through certain means. We won't say how. I don't know what the statute of limitations is on that, but
Hey, listen, ain't no shame. Ain't no shame. None
my
whatsoever.
parents pay. Yeah, if you slip the cable guy $50 when he's putting in your basic, all of a sudden some more stuff shows up. So anyway, we had access to a ton of the stuff. So like I would really just go back to like whenever something kaiju related was on, I would go and I try to watch it or tape it or all of that. And so Destroy All Monsters was definitely one of the ones that I went to very early on because again, it had all the stuff, it had all the monsters, it had everything, and that's what really drew me to it. And then I saw the Godzilla Roland Emmerich one because I was super pumped for that, and I was just like, man. And then at the time, being big in the comics and all that, I kind of fell away from kaiju stuff, but I would see like in Wizard magazine or early ain'titcoolnews.com before that it was just terrible. You would see stuff about like the Japanese ones, like, versus Destroya or Biolante. And like I would see these cool creature designs. I'm like, when can I see these? And it was very hard to like get all that sorted out. And I definitely drifted away. But then, 2014's Godzilla brought me back for sure. I was super excited for that. And that whole run, but we'll get to that. But then yeah, in 2020 where everything kind of like crashed down, I just started kind of getting these vinyls as like gifts. And at first it started off like, oh, this is cool, I like to put it in the back here or whatever. And then it just kind of became a thing where like I just got so many for birthday, Christmas, whatever, because they're like 15-20 bucks or whatever. And so my wife would have the
Is that
kids,
it?
I'd make a whole list of them. My kids would just pick which ones to get me for a present or whatever. And I got them and I love it. And I just started delving into the cheap Blu-rays of the Japanese movies I never got to see.
Hmm.
They had the double Blu-rays. I think they still have them on Amazon, if you shop there. And just all of that. So just really delving into all of that and just really getting into it. And then the comics, and then even like, kaiju adjacent. I've been playing a lot of Gigabash, which is a kaiju video game, which is really, really fun. But yeah, so, mine was kind of like in and out. It wasn't a whole constant thing over my lifespan, but like now it's just like, I think, as we get older, like, you know, especially people, from our generations are like, you know what, the thing we love when a kid, like, let's embrace that again. Like, let's just have, we love that. Like, let's, there's no reason to be like shy about like just loving it again.
Right.
And
Right.
especially now, as Balash, you mentioned, like we're kind of like a kaiju renaissance a
Mhm.
bit. Where there's so much fun stuff coming out with that. So yeah.
Well,
So
and
go ahead,
when
Sean.
a lot of that, sorry, I didn't mean to
No, no,
interrupt
fine.
you, but like a lot of that
Mm,
also comes into play because like with with American studios, they're like, oh look, because American studios are now just in this like
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
blockbusters only, and we are like, it's just like we are in like the last phases of entertainment, and it's just like blockbuster, 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 and they realize, oh yeah, people like Godzilla, people like King Kong, so let's
Mm-hmm.
Americanize it, and it's going to make money, in which every single monsterverse movie has made lots of money and
Yeah,
sold well merchandising wise, so like
Yeah.
that's
yeah.
a big boost and a big influence. But the thing is that there's always been that core base, young and old, who like know the Japanese films, all from right from the back of their hand. They know all of them.
Yeah.
They know, and they understand the eras. They understand what it means. Like they understand that in Japan, Godzilla's about Japan, but in America, Godzilla's about Godzilla. Like and they understand that difference, And
Yes.
so, because like I actually like when I do author talks and I talk with school kids, about creativity and how we make things, and I show them. I'm like, hey, you guys are familiar with. Godzilla, like the current Godzilla MonsterVerse, like Godzilla X Kong, the New Empire, and all
Mm-hmm.
the kids like, yeah, we love it, we think it's great, and I'll show them an image from it, and then I'll flip the slide and I'll say, well, this is the Godzilla I grew up on. And it's a picture of Godzilla shaking Jet Jaguar's hand. Okay.
Yeah.
And so like, and they start chuckling, but like some of the kids are like, that's kind of cool. I was like, yeah, I was like, we
Yeah.
did not have CGI when I was your
Mm-hmm.
age. Okay. That was, we didn't really get into that until like the late 80s, early 90s. But we
Yeah.
had rubber suits, we had expression,
Miniatures.
we still had, yep, we had special effects, so it was just different. And like it was just it's a way for me to explain to kids how things creatively can change over the
Mm-hmm.
decades. But the thing
That's
is, I'm like,
awesome.
but stories are still the same. The stories are still the
Yeah.
same. It's just visually different. And so, and I remember one group of school kids I talked to in Ohio, after the session was over, I'm saying goodbye to all of them, and they're like 5 or 6 kids. They're like, I'm going to ask my dad if he can go get me some Japanese Godzilla movies. I really want to watch these. This sounds really cool. And so, like, I like being able to, like, I'm not forcing it on them, but I'm making them curious about it.
Yeah.
No, you got
Yeah.
five
That's
kids out of
awesome.
a classroom. That's a win.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's awesome, and we'll definitely circle back to that. The stories are the same; it's just the presentation is different as we get to the legendary era, because we've definitely kind of come a little full circle with a lot of stuff. Um, so yeah, so now we're gonna go through. The plan is to go through each era. I'm gonna list out all the movies, and we're each gonna briefly mention which one is our favorite from that era, and we're gonna see if we can kind of come to a consensus what we consider the best. They're all the best, for somebody, and there's no this isn't a hard and fast definitive like you're wrong, we're right, but this is all in good fun. Whereas because if anything, I know that kaiju fans are very, very passionate, which is awesome. And if we say something that's not your favorite or consider one as the best, that's not that, we're not saying you're wrong either. we're just three
Yeah.
we're just three dudes who love kaiju, and we just want to chat about it and have some fun here. So to start us off, we have the Showa era, and that starts with Godzilla 1954. Godzilla raids again. First appearance of Anguirus, however you want to say it. Godzilla versus King Kong versus Godzilla, Mothra versus Godzilla, Ghidorah, the three-headed monster, Invasion of Astro Monster, or Godzilla versus Monster Zero, Ibera, Horror of the Deep, or Godzilla versus the Sea Monster in America, Son of Godzilla, Destroy All Monsters Attack, Godzilla versus Hedorah, Godzilla versus Gigan, Godzilla versus Megalon, Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla, and Terror of Mechagodzilla. That's a huge list. It's the biggest list of films, the biggest run. So let's start off with Sean. Sean, what of this?
Okay.
Do you have a favorite and what you consider the best, and are they different?
Okay. So like, Destroy All Monsters was the first Godzilla movie I ever saw.
Yeah.
And so like that will forever resonate with me. And like
Yes.
and the fact that you get like because I'm actually looking at a copy of Kaiju Unleashed right now. It's like you get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. You get 12 kaiju in this film. And
Yeah.
out of those 12 kaiju, I believe 11 of them, they actually shot new footage for. I think the only one that didn't have new footage shot for it was Kamakuras. And
Yeah.
and so that one they just used previous footage from Son of Godzilla and just inserted it into the movie. But like it was cool. So like that's a very big, like sensory overload to see all these
Hmm.
fantastic kaiju, right? So for the longest time, that was my favorite. So then you get older, you get into your 30s, and you really start to just like look at the stuff again. And like when you talked about Don, when you talked about how like, allowing the stuff that you loved as a kid to let that back in and enjoy it.
Yeah.
Like, like there's a lot of things that like I just, I brush to the side now that I've brought back. I think like one of the few things that I haven't brought back from my childhood to try to rewatch is Small Wonder, because that show's terrible. And
Yeah.
I love,
Some things are best left in our
yes,
childhood.
yes, we leave that, we're gonna leave that far behind. Bless Tiffany Brissett. I hope she's doing well. Anyway, so got a little older, started going through the movies again, and the 1954 Godzilla really means a lot to me. And like the producer of Godzilla, of the 1954 Godzilla, once talked about how he was like, Japan is a very rich area. They can buy People can buy whatever they want, but like the materials and like the things they buy are not spiritual. And how about if a monster just comes through and ruins all of it for them?
Hmm.
And like, and so like I'm paraphrasing that, mind you, I'm paraphrasing that, but like that really struck a chord with me. And so, but like this, the film is hey, this is also talking about the horrors of nuclear war and bomb testing and things of this
Hmm.
nature. We're dealing with the after effects of war during this period of time as well. And so it's just a very like complex movie, where even with the American version with the gentleman who played Perry Mason, I always
Raymond
forget his
Burr.
name.
Oh, why am I forgetting?
Raymond Burr. Is that the one?
Raymond
Raymond
Burr.
Burr. Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
So when Raymond Burr took that very seriously, he took
Yeah.
that film seriously.
He
You know,
understood the assignment. Yeah.
yeah, he understood the assignment. So like he didn't feel like we need an American in this film so American audiences can understand it. It didn't feel that way. It really felt as if, this man's coming and trying to learn the situation, trying to figure this out too. And
Hmm.
so but like I love, it's black and white, and the way Godzilla shot is so freaking cool. And it's such rogue filmmaking, like, and Shiro Honda
Yeah.
does such a hell of a job with literally pennies on the dollar. And
Hmm.
that's the one thing about like the Showa era, and with the Eiji Tsuburaya era of special effects and creations, whether you're talking about Godzilla, Ultraman, like Super Sentai, all that stuff, they're making all that stuff on $5 in a dream,
Yeah.
you know? Like, and it looks great. No matter how corny it might
Hmm.
get, it looks great because they're
Yeah.
doing that with almost nothing. And
Hmm.
so yeah, like the original Godzilla, that's the one for me in the Showa era. Like, don't get me wrong, I enjoy all of the Showa era, because the
Yeah.
Showa era gives you everything. It gives you the
Yeah.
serious, it
Yeah.
gives you the silly, it gives you like, the fun stuff, it gives you like, hey, we're going to talk about the environment. Like it gives you everything,
Hmm.
you know,
Yeah.
bounces from kids
I
to adults to kids. Like it's everything. But the first Godzilla's for me.
all right. Balash, how about you?
I want
Do you
to
have a
add to that.
favorite and a best?
Yeah. Okay. So I wanted to add to the saying like they're doing like just very cheap. It's true to this day. Like look at -1, like $15 million, if that. So
Yeah.
as far as my favorite, I think my favorite and the best are both the same. 54. I'm gonna be a basic bitch.
Okay.
I think that's quite a common
Yeah.
opinion. That's the
I
best one.
mean,
Most people's favorite. Sorry,
yeah.
go on.
It's No, it's I'm not trying to step on your explanation for it. No, but I mean, it's considered
It's a
the
classic.
best for by so many for good reason. Like it's something it's a well they keep drawing from the inspiration of the first one. So
And that
yeah,
movie is, yeah,
that's yeah.
until Shin Godzilla, every single new era referenced it. Like even when they retconned
Mm-hmm.
everything, the 54 one
Yep.
still happened until
Hmm.
Shin. It's
Yeah.
now I have to say, so I want to be a bit of a party pooper. The Showa era is my least favorite era. It's because I didn't grow up on it, so I think it's a bit more of a suspension of disbelief for me a lot of times, or a bit too silly. But I'm not saying
Oh.
that I hate the era. I used to say like, "Oh, I hate the Showa era, I can't stand it." But I watched more. I watched more in preparation. I still haven't seen all of it. I think I've seen half of them. So far, I've seen the 54 one, Godzilla raids again, King Kong versus Godzilla, Mothra versus Godzilla, Ghidorah the three-headed
Mm-hmm.
monster, Destroy All Monsters, and I believe I've seen the first. Yeah, I've seen Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla. Out of all
Okay.
of these, I didn't hate. Oh, sorry, I've seen Godzilla versus Hedorah. I don't know if I mentioned that. So
Okay.
out of all of
Okay.
these, I didn't hate any of them. Although Godzilla Raids again is not great in my opinion. I think it's important because it's the first monster versus monster movie with Anguirus appearing.
Mm-hmm.
But whatever 1954 did well, I think
Yeah.
Godzilla Raids again just done it differently and not that well. Like just the way the kaiju
Yeah.
stuff was shot. But not to be negative, I think there's a lot of good like stuff in this that is like if you think about it in a way that like what these movies were doing at the time. So like the connective tissue between them, it's basically like the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Like they've done
Yeah.
Godzilla and they done a Rodan movie and then they done a Mothra movie and then they brought Mothra over and then they brought Rodan over to like
Mm-hmm.
just to do a crossover with them. And then it kept going. And then we got Destroy All Monsters when like everyone was in there, even like
Yeah.
Baragon as like for like 2 seconds because I think the suit was like rotting away or something. Also, there was
Yeah.
another
Yeah.
one,
Yeah.
there
Yeah.
was
That
like a
was.
flying squirrel. I don't know the creature, but apparently they couldn't show him either because the suit was like just falling apart. There's like
Yeah.
one shot of
Yeah.
him. I can't remember the name of it, but and also we got some weird shit in here like Hedorah, which is I'm not
Yeah.
saying I
Which is
like that.
like
I did not enjoy that movie.
it's
That's an
definitely
experience.
a standout in terms of being different from the other ones in
Yes.
a lot of ways.
I
Yeah,
wish it
for sure.
wasn't that different sometimes. Like, just please use
Hmm.
the Godzilla theme instead of whatever the hell music they were playing while Godzilla appeared. That like slide whistle thing. Like, I don't know what they were
Yeah,
thinking, but there's nothing
it's
like
it was a groovy time, man. It was a groovy time.
yeah. It's like it's one of those movies. I'm glad it exists, even though it's not
Hmm.
something that I'm probably gonna revisit ever again. But I'm glad I've
Yeah,
seen it because like you have to witness this thing. And
yeah.
yeah, I think it's a very important era for because they were just doing a lot of things the first time ever, and they set precedents that the
Hmm.
eras the Heisei Era and the MIllenium and Reiwa and the American movies keep pulling from them from that well.
Yeah,
Just keep like using them like, oh, that was a good idea, let's do it again. So,
yeah.
but I still think the 54 one is just because it's such a serious movie. It's you can feel the creative intent behind it. It just
Hmm.
really comes
Hmm.
together. And I think to this day it holds up. Like, sure, the special
Yeah,
effects, it's from the 50s,
Yeah.
but if
yeah.
you can kind of excuse that, you don't need to excuse it too much because it's very
Hmm.
stylish. I think even for a modern viewer, if you have an affinity for older movies, you don't even need to be a fan of kaiju cinema. You just
Yeah,
put on
yeah,
Godzilla 54 and be like, that was a good movie. So that's
yeah.
that's why it's my favorite.
Uh,
Oh,
yeah.
I will say, speaking of Godzilla versus Hedorah, fun fact: the gentleman who was in the Hedorah suit, while filming, had appendicitis.
Oh.
Okay, and so they had to do surgery. But the problem is that it took like hours to get into the suit and out of the suit. So they performed surgery with him in the suit.
Oh my god!
That's oh my
Like
god.
the amount of that's the whole other thing too about Toho back, like especially back then, the amount of commitment. Like, you
Oh
gotta
yeah.
be committed. You have appendicitis and said, "No, man, it's good. No, just I'm in the suit. Just do it now. Do it now." Like,
Yeah,
that's
it's
wild.
you know, you know, not to detract too much, but like one thing I do have to say is like all like throughout everything I've ever read, seen, watched about the suit actors for these movies
Mhm.
is they are like proud. They are like stoked to be these characters in these movies, which I think goes such a long way when it comes to, appreciating what's happening with them, even as, you know, less serious as the Showa era gets, like just knowing everyone was just there, like they were all in. That I
You
think
had to be.
commitment goes a long way.
Mhm.
Uh, these
Yeah,
people in
there's
that
no half-assing being,
like
King Caesar or Jet Jaguar.
aren't they like losing like I don't know how many liters of water because it's like so hot in there.
Yeah,
And also there are scenes
yeah,
when they're like, okay, we have this like model city or landscape. You have to
hmm
go through it. We're gonna blow the whole thing up. While you are in there, we have one take
Mhm.
because we blow the whole thing up, and you have to act like a monster. Like you can't just be like, oh, I'm gonna run around and whatever, because you're gonna ruin the scene. And they're in the suit and they're
Mhm.
getting set on fire and like explosives thrown at them. Like that's why when people
hmm
say, "Oh, this era is silly, so I don't like it," I'm like, "Yeah, but you have to think about it. Like, there's no CG. There's no like, oh, I'm just gonna do it on a computer. Like, these are real people shooting in a set that they built with suits they built, and they're actually doing it. And if that doesn't entertain you, like, sure, fair enough, but don't look down on it. Basically,
Oh yeah.
yeah,
and and not only that, but there's also the issue of like material, finding proper materials to build stuff, because like especially with Godzilla 1954, like they didn't have a lot of rubber, so they ended up having to mix rubber with other chemicals like such items such as concrete. Okay,
all right,
just to build the suit. Now granted, like the suit's not made of concrete, but like it helps extend,
yeah, yeah.
yeah,
extend like the use of rubber, but that still makes it heavy and it makes it hot, and they still did the job. And like so like shouts out to Haruo Nakajima and all those cats, Kempencho, and like all those cats that like got in those suits and did the
Also,
thing.
special shout out. I don't know if there was anyone in that suit when that scene happened. And sorry, I got my notes here. Ghidorah, the three-headed monster, when Rodan kicks Godzilla's ass, he drops him on like an electric like pole, and he like
yeah,
takes that in the groin. So if anyone
yeah.
was in that suit, I don't know if that guy ever had kid after that, but like respect, man. Like I watched it the other day and I had to rewind it because I'm like, damn, that must have hurt.
I realized Rodan was not on this list, but I actually watched that for like the first time after I think you emailed me, Balash,
Yeah,
about
same,
watching
same. I
it.
just watched it.
Or the first time or after a very long time. And I do have to get one special shout out because that one is like, it felt so dark, that movie.
Yeah.
There's like when people, die in that movie, like it is like, it's not like, oh, mass chaos. It's like people are like just giving their all in these performances, like just being grief and all this stuff is. So I was like, wow, this one's hitting a bit harder than like,
I think
something
I think
else you would have expected from that.
I think
Yeah.
people don't really talk about that movie as much as they talk about when it comes to other kaiju movies, like
Yeah.
the Mothra movie or the Frankenstein ones, or Sean's
Hmm.
going to talk about the Daimajin
hmm
ones, because it's kind of just like Godzilla again, but it flies this time. But I still think
Yeah.
it's a well-made movie. Like if you just want
Yeah.
a
No, it
monster
is. It is. Yeah.
that doesn't feel goofy like the rest of the Showa
Yeah.
era, because even
Yeah.
the first
It
Mothra movie,
has that. It has that air of tragic
yeah.
inevitability that like, kind of like Godzilla did. For me, like
Sorry.
I cannot argue against Godzilla 54 being the best. You can't. It's just a good movie, whether you watch the original Japanese version or the one with Raymond Burr. Either way, like it's a great movie. Like because I'm sure a lot of it had to do with the fact that it wasn't set out to be a monster movie. The monster was, a catalyst. It was a metaphor or whatever, whatever the intent is, and the idea was the movie around it, everything around it. So, and as much as I love Anguirus, that's how I say his name. I may be wrong. As much as I
Sounds about
love
right.
him, he, Godzilla raids again. Yeah, it's not. It's like, it is definitely like a movie that tried to do the same thing, but like missed the point of like why the first one was as effective. It's still enjoyable to me to put on and watch. It's Godzilla 54 is though not my favorite one of the era. It is arguably unarguably the best one. But like in terms of like just wanting to put something on and enjoy, I have to go with Godzilla versus Gigan because again, like it has my boy Anguirus in there, and just the sheer ridiculousness of like when they're like talking to each other. He's like, they're making a plan, like just it just tickles my brain so that I just love it so much. But that's a favorite, but yeah, not the best. So I think we can all gentlemanly agree, Godzilla 1954 Showa era, top tier, the
Okay.
best.
Yes.
So in between eras, I kind of want to talk about some non-Godzilla stuff, and I know Balash will cut me if I don't give him a chance to talk about the Heisei Gamera series, which I would have loved to talk about, but you are my guest. Please, Balash, what would you like to say about the Heisei Gamera?
My boy Gamera. He suffers so much. He's like Jesus Christ. He gets crucified in every movie. Honestly, when I
Yeah,
watched our first,
I'll just hold him up while we talk about him.
Oh.
mine are too far away, but I have all of them
Yeah.
except for the Showa Era one. I think I only seen one Showa Era Gamera movie, not even the first one. They are just what I've seen of them. They're not the best. So if anyone is interested in
Yeah.
like kaiju cinema, I always say like the suitmation kaiju cinema, the classic stuff
Yeah.
for a newbie. I was like, look, if you go back to the Showa Era, you watch King Kong versus Godzilla, like, sure, there is entertainment value in it, but for a newcomer, it might be a bit too much, a bit too goofy.
Yeah.
Or the 54, the special effects. So, for my money, if you want to experience the pinnacle of suitmation and the best combination of this is a bit silly, but also we are taking it seriously, just overall the Heisei Era, Godzilla wise and Gamera wise, are the best for me. I'm gonna mention that when we talk about the Heisei Era as well. But
Yeah.
but within that, so I just how they execute these movies. I think that's kind of like this is the best example. And within that, to me, the Gamera trilogy or Gamera, I don't know how to say it. The Gamera trilogy is the best. It's 3 movies, and they're very good. And I think they get better as they go on, and they are surprisingly dark, but they all have a bit of fun, a bit of goofiness, especially the first one. And the concept is so ridiculous. It's a flying fire-breathing giant turtle, and when you watch the movies, it still has that silliness, but you're like, oh my god, people are dying here. Like no one is
Yeah.
laughing within the movie. And I just find the design of Gamera just really compelling as it evolves throughout the movies. It gets more and more like vicious and badass looking.
Aggressive. Yeah.
And I kind of like the fact that he's not, he's not a forgotten kaiju, but everyone knows Godzilla, so he's my special boy. He can be my special interest, but also Godzilla always, most of the time, okay, maybe not in the Showa Era when he got like very kid friendly, but Godzilla always have that feeling of like, fuck, Godzilla is here. He's rage and fire incarnate. He's the nuclear bomb in a body. Like he is the dude. When Gamera shows up, it's a big turtle, but like he gets fucked up. It's not always certain that he dies multiple times. Like Gamera is multiple turtles. There's a line of Gameras throughout the ages, and they develop a really interesting mythology within the 3 movies. And also, just a fun fact: I don't know if you guys knew this, but the main actress who is in it, the little girl, third movies, it's Steven Seagal's daughter.
Oh.
I just randomly discovered it's like, what? Anyway, so she's good.
Cool.
She's good as well. I don't think she does a lot now, but just he's my special boy, and I really like. He doesn't appear a lot, so there's not a lot of Gamera to go through. There's like 3 Heisei movies. There's one in 2006, Gamera the Brave, and then we got the animated series on Netflix, and basically that's all the Gamera that I think it's worth watching. Obviously, there's Showa Era movies. It's not saying they're all rubbish, but they were always like made even cheaper than the Godzilla ones. So
and I think sorry, go ahead. I apologize. Go ahead.
No, I just wanted to mention that the Pacific Rim pulls a kaiju design from one of the Showa Era ones. That's probably one of the biggest. Like the knife head is from.
Hmm.
I can't remember the name of the kaiju, but yeah, that's probably the biggest like influence these days that people would know that relates to Gamera. Go on,
Yeah,
Sean. Sorry.
yeah,
No,
yeah.
you're fine. You're fine. I would say also, I think the thing that kind of hurt Gamera in the Showa era is when Sandy Frank, an American television producer who was known for taking the anime series Gatchaman and turning it into Battle of the Planets, taking Gamera, redubbing it, cutting it up, and bringing it to the United States, into where it just feels more silly than it actually is.
Hmm.
Because he's like, so this is for the kids, for the kids, for the kids, but like it's dubbed horribly. Like there are a lot of like really bad cuts, like bad edits and things of that nature, and I think that really hurt Gamera more in the United States, and even with MST, because it like, and when
Yeah,
MST3K made their jokes, that was from
Yeah,
a Sandy Frank edit
yeah,
of
yeah,
of,
not the
of Gamera.
original.
Okay,
yeah.
and so, like, I think, and it's not MST3K's fault. It's more
Yeah.
like, and I'm not mad at Sandy Frank because he brought Gamera to the United States, because we were still in a period of time where here in the United States, like, you couldn't just import movies over. Now it's not really that big of an issue now.
Yeah.
Compared to back then. Well, it could be, if because of who in the White House. Anyway,
Yeah.
so but anyway, but
Hmm.
like,
Hmm.
back then, that was how movies were imported over to the States. An American studio would take it, redub it, edit it, re-edit it, and here's our version. And so
Yeah,
I think that hurt Gamera a lot.
yeah.
But like, the Heisei era really, like you said, it really gave Gamera life,
Yeah.
and it
Gravitas
became more.
character.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, it was, yeah. I agree with you wholeheartedly. I agree.
I have one last thought,
I
and then we can
yeah.
move on. So basically, just my main thing about why people should watch Gamera, barring spoilers for my opinions further along the line, barring the 54 Godzilla and minus one, I
Hmm.
think the three Gamera movies from the Heisei era are better than any of the Godzilla movies in between. And I
Hmm.
love Godzilla. I love Godzilla. I spent all that money on these. Personal opinion, I think those three movies are at least better than anything from the Heisei era. And Heisei era is my favorite era of Godzilla. So, and I think it's easier to recommend because that's three movies. All of them are good. So you don't
Hmm.
have to go like, oh, you should watch the
Well,
high
it's
cinema, but this one is not that
yeah.
great. That one is blah blah blah. It feels like a chore. It feels like homework. You can just say, hey, there are three Gamera
Hmm.
movies. It's on Amazon Prime. What buy the Arrow Blu-rays, whatever. Pop them on. If you don't like the first one,
Yeah.
you don't have to watch anything else. If you like the first one, you're gonna have two even better ones after, and that's it.
Yeah.
Call it a day. So I
You
think
know.
it's a more compact
Yeah.
package. That's it.
No.
And yeah, Gamera.
That that's not the first time I've heard that opinion, and it's hard to disagree with the validity of that. Um, my one big mention about that trilogy is like it does the end of Revenge of Iris contains, I'm not going to say it to spoil it for anybody who may have not have seen it, but it contains the hardest kaiju like badass moment
Is it the
that
end?
I don't think has been topped yet. It's the end. It's what Gamera does at the end
Yeah.
to finish everything off.
Yeah.
Like, if you want to understand why people love, this Gamera so much, it's just like it's just like, there's been a ton of great, awesome moments in kaiju movies, but that one's just like, man, that's just fucking metal as hell, dude.
My
Like,
favorite.
you know,
I know which one you're talking about.
but yeah, that's all I'll say about it.
No, that's an
Yeah.
absolute metal moment. My favorite one is at the end of the first one, how he finishes it off, because that to me is
Hmm.
like a Western showdown. It's like
Yeah,
a
yeah, yeah.
pistol duel just between two kaiju. It's
Yes.
shot that way, and I don't know. I just
Hmm.
found that really fun and fascinating, and very effective as well. It's a very cool ending. But yeah,
Yeah,
let's move on
yeah.
from Gamera because I can talk about it all
Yeah.
day.
Awesome. So next up for Godzilla is we have the Heisei, however you say, era, and this is an era that like I'm a more recent comer to, with thanks to the Blu-rays and all that. So I didn't have like I know I had seen Godzilla Returns. I had seen stuff with Destroya and all that because it was big news in the States too. Like, oh, they're Godzilla's dying. They had the whole like red carpet thing and all that. Like, it was a huge news. So yeah, but in terms of these movies, I guess I'll go first. In terms of these movies, like my favorite and what I think is the best is versus Destroya.
Sorry,
I think
Don, do you want to list the movies, by the way?
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you, Balash. Godzilla Returns, Godzilla 85, Godzilla versus Biollante, Godzilla versus King Ghidorah, Godzilla versus Mothra Battle for Earth, Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla 2, Godzilla versus Space Godzilla, and Godzilla versus Destroya. My favorite, and I think the best, is Godzilla versus Destroya. Do I like all of these movies? Yeah, I like them to various degrees. I think there's definitely it's a much shorter list in the Showa era, so I feel like the lows are felt a lot more, than the highs. Because I also love Space Godzilla. I think Biollante is great. Um, you know, versus Mecha Godzilla 2 is okay to me. And the rest are mm, I could give or take. I kind of like there's some parts in Godzilla Returns I really do like, but for me, Destroya, that has like both, like I feel just like as a movie, it has satisfactory plot resolutions. It has a great ending for the character. It has great fights. I love the fact that Destroya is, there's when he's the smaller pieces of himself, like the humans are actually like dealing with that a bit, and it felt,
Like
much more
Aliens?
like, yeah, I felt, yeah,
No, the movie Aliens.
obviously huge
That's
influence
literally
of that, which one of my those movies are some of my favorites as well. So obviously
right.
I'm gonna love the influence of that, but like the way it's all tied in together, I feel for me personally, that's my favorite, and I think it's the best of that era. How about you, Sean?
I will say this, like, I really think Destroy is really cool as well. Like that, I think I saw Destroy Godzilla versus Destroya probably like about a decade ago. And
Okay.
like and I walked away like just being so impressed with it, because the thing is that like I didn't really get to see any of the Heisei era films probably until about a decade ago, because like the stuff was started to become more available in the 90s, which was
Yeah.
great. And you had like a lot of different distributors bringing the movies over, which was awesome. And a lot of times they weren't like overdubbed, or they had the original vocal track with subtitles and whatnot, so hopefully they were properly subtitled. But like Space Godzilla is my favorite, for the simple fact I just love the Space Godzilla design.
Oh
And
yeah,
sometimes
it's awesome. Yeah.
and sometimes design means more to me than story, as kind of messed up as that sounds sometimes. But like there's something about that Space Godzilla design that just it makes me want to make stuff,
All
like
right.
it's
Yeah. Yeah.
like it's one of the few times you can have a doppelganger and it actually works. Okay.
Hmm.
Like,
Hmm.
because like I'm not a big fan of doppelgangers. I'm a big Power Rangers fan, and you mentioned Lord Dracon to me, I just walk away. Okay. Like that's like, I'm not a doppelganger type of person. I'm not. But Space Godzilla works. It works, and like Space Godzilla is a formidable foe for Godzilla, and that battle is so damn intense. And once again, we're still dealing with suit actors. These cats are like, burning themselves up trying to make this movie. Okay.
Yeah.
So like Space Godzilla, like that's the one that holds a special place in my heart. But like but at the same time, although I do vote for Space Godzilla, the Return of Godzilla, for me, once again, it's that thing of, okay, kind of like akin to Godzilla 1954. It's a thing of, oh wow, Godzilla's back. Oh, wait a minute, they're using what they call the 84 Goji suit. And like, and like now they have a 20-foot Godzilla, a mechanical Godzilla that they've built, but
Hmm.
they realized they couldn't use it fully. So they're like, well, we can use it for close-ups. So now Godzilla smirks, and like, his
Hmm.
mouth moves differently, his eyebrows move, like eyes move. Like it just kicks off so much cool shit. Okay. Like, and so
Hmm.
like so like if not for the innovation of that, you don't get the looks, of Godzilla, like whether it be from Biollante, King Ghidorah, Battle for Earth, Mechagodzilla 2, Space Godzilla and Destroyer. You don't get that innovation unless you have Godzilla, then Return of Godzilla, and so like I have to that gets an honorable mention because without that we don't get the rest, we don't get the innovation.
Yeah.
And so but like I just think Space Godzilla is freaking awesome. He's very metal for me. He's very metal for me.
It's very, very 90s with the shoulder pads.
Yes.
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 It is definitely an Extreme Studios Godzilla design.
I'm surprised you didn't mention that. Well, it might just be me then. That it doesn't just have one of the best designs for a doppelganger, but it's the best design for a baby Godzilla, because the baby Godzilla.
Yes.
But I hate Manila. Like, kill that thing with fire. Hate that little freak. The one in Mechagodzilla 2, cute, but a little weird lizard. But then they upgraded the design, and it's just the cutest. 2 seconds, guys. I'm just gonna grab both of them because I have all these figures here. So
okay,
go ahead.
Yeah,
I'll interject and I'll say, again, Manila. I really don't have a strong opinion either or for Manila, but like the baby Godzilla design and versus Space Godzilla, I would kill for that baby Godzilla. I will protect you, little baby Godzilla.
So that's the Space Godzilla design that Shawn was talking about.
Yes.
I have the lightning effects on it, but that's the 90s shoulder
Yeah.
pads. So like, look at the motherfucker.
It's just mean. It's
very
just
mean. Very.
I love the crown. Like that. It feels like so like such a weird, unnecessary thing that it's like it feels just amazing. Because sometimes that's all you need is just some weird random thing.
Guy.
Yes. Look, he's adorable.
Yeah.
I don't have any other.
It's
I don't have any other juniors because they're ugly. He's the cutest. Like, it's just a little chibi Godzilla, and he acts adorably as well.
In the Kaiju Unleashed book, we have a full page photo of baby Godzilla.
Yeah.
It's
an awesome design, and I'm glad they had that because my daughter, she's 9, but she hasn't really watched much of the Godzilla stuff.
Yeah.
The one she sat entirely through was Godzilla versus Hedorah for some reason. I don't know why. Like, of all of them, that's the one she sat through. But I was watching Godzilla versus Space Godzilla at one point, and in the office here, and like she came in, and baby Godzilla is so cute. She was legitimately upset that he was in danger.
Oh yeah.
Like, oh no, what's going on? So she kept making me like pause so she can see how much of the movie is left to make sure like it's not the end and it didn't end badly. I'm like, he'll be okay, honey. He'll be okay. I can't let you watch Destroyer now, but that's okay. Well, maybe I can, but like, so yeah.
He gets wrecked.
If it's not clear, we're all with you on that design. Yeah.
Yes.
He does. Yeah. It does turn out well. So awesome. So how about you, Balash? What is your favorite of that era?
Right. So
where you consider the best?
As I said before, the Heisei Era is my jam. Like, this is my favorite era. I think this era is kind of like. I think the main reason is because what people think of Godzilla and how Godzilla movies look like and behave. So like, it's a bit silly, but it's people in suits, but it's kind of serious as well because they know it's about like the nuclear, like the metaphor for the nuclear, the atomic bomb. But when you look at people think of the Showa era, and I think for kids that's the Showa era. But if you're a bit older, I think the Heisei Era does these things because I think it's easier to take it more seriously, but you still get the fun stuff. It's not all dour because you have baby Godzillas and space Godzillas and everything else in between. And I think the main reason I prefer this to the Showa is that Godzilla is never a joke. He is never a friend to kids. He's never a hero. He's at best maybe an anti-hero that they kind of have to work with to defeat space Godzilla. But most of the time, he's just like, holy shit, we have a 3-headed dragon, so we need to get Godzilla somehow to fight it off. As soon as Godzilla fights it off, fuck, we have a Godzilla problem again. And he's always menacing, and the design is awesome. From like, I like the 84 Godzilla Returns one, or Return of Godzilla one, sorry. The one after, the design that they continue using, I think that's like the best. And like to me, that's the most iconic Godzilla design.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
there are other really good ones that we're going to talk about, I think.
Hmm.
But that's to me like kind of like the platonic ideal of a Godzilla design. And for all this, my personal favorite, there are two, but I think my vote goes for um, Godzilla versus King Ghidorah. I know
Oh,
you
okay.
don't like it, but
I was surprised to hear that because I
Yeah,
was, yeah.
I didn't expect
so
that. No, I did not expect
that
that.
was the first one I watched after Shin Godzilla, and I did not
Okay.
know. Spoilers for anyone who haven't seen it, but I think it's a well-known fact that there is a Mecha King Ghidorah at the end, and
Yep.
and I was like, this is amazing. I did not know that this is gonna happen. Like, what are they gonna do now? And then it appears, and it's shot really well. Like that scene looks awesome. Like the way it's lit when he lands and the light behind him, and one of the heads is like a
Hmm.
Yeah.
mechanical head, mechanical wings. I'm like, fuck yeah, this is all I ever wanted. And I think that movie does it like does everything. Like it's a full package. So it has very silly stuff. You have the three
Hmm.
tiny Ghidorahs. They go back in time to World War II. You have a Steven
Yeah.
Spielberg reference, and I don't know if you guys remember that.
Okay.
There was a major
Yeah.
Spielberg,
Yeah.
the American warship.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
that
Mm.
was like
Yeah.
2 years before Jurassic Park as well. So you have a time travel. You have an android. It's like a absolute like Terminator ripoff. It's those scenes are very funny, but then Godzilla is an actual threat, and there is some tension there. I
Hmm.
think it's just a very entertaining movie. But if I want something that's a bit less goofy, my second pick is the Mechagodzilla 2, Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla 2, because I love Mechagodzilla when it's
Hmm.
when it's a mech piloted by humans. I like the original
Yeah.
evil alien
Hmm.
doppelganger version. I think it's fun, but personally, because I like Pacific Rim and like Gundam and the like mech suits type of stuff,
Hmm.
I think it looks really cool. Not my favorite design. That's Kiryu from the 2002
Yeah.
movie. But
Yeah.
again, it's like one of those like has goofy parts, but it has Rodan, it has Godzilla, it has Godzilla Junior, and the Mechagodzilla. So there's a lot of stuff. And the fight
Okay.
between Mechagodzilla and Godzilla when they finally clash, it's shot in a very serious way. Like yeah, it's
Yeah.
two guys in a suit, but it's shot kind of like a horror movie basically.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
And
these two,
and
but if I have to
also,
choose one, sorry, go on.
I don't know. Go
Hmm.
ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead. Go. Sorry.
No, I just meant to say, like, if I have to pick one, I think I just pick King Ghidorah because that was my first, and I think it swings in both directions, the comedy and the seriousness, like very far in both of them. So I think it's like a
Hmm.
good example. But this is my favorite era, and I think except for the Mothra one, which I don't hate but I don't love, I kind of like all of them. And I really
Okay.
need someone to do like a complete Blu-ray set because we have the Showa era set from Criterion, but we only
I'm
have
sure. I'm sure it's someone's got it on their desk to like get this
it's
done
Criterion because
at
they
this point.
have the Biollante one. They
Hmm.
just released it with the Eric Powell cover, which is an
Oh.
awesome cover. But I just got it the other week. Uh, but we don't have. I don't think the Return of Godzilla is on Blu-ray like at all. Like that's the most like out of print out of all of them.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not like, because the thing is also, like, the American version was called Godzilla '85, which was like, brought over to the States by New World Pictures, which was owned
Right.
by Roger Corman.
Oh,
And
okay.
so,
Yeah.
and they shot new scenes to insert into the film, and they brought back Raymond Burr as Dr. Steve
All
Martin,
right.
right? And
Hmm.
the thing is, like, Raymond Burr told New World Pictures, if you're going to do this, you have to take it seriously. He's like, I will not play Godzilla as a joke. This is not funny. Like, if you watch the original film, you know how important this is. And if this is our direct sequel to 1954, we're going to take it seriously. To which they say, okay. But at the same time, they take a New World, because, New World Pictures was very, all that stuff was low budget.
Yeah.
So they take an endorsement deal with Dr. Pepper. Okay. So they get like a good amount of cash. Okay. Basically enough cash to like do the things they need to do to, like, make this film Americanized. So you're in the middle of a military base, and like you got a general and so walking down the hallway, and right behind them is a Dr. Pepper machine. like in view of the camera, like in the shot. Okay.
Yeah.
And like, and even during like the most serious moments where like they're all like, Dr. Steve Martin and the rest of the military, they're all watching on the big screen, and like it's real
Mm-hmm.
tense. And the camera just pans to a dude holding a Dr. Pepper, and he's like, "Oh, this is intense." Drinks the Dr. Pepper, and I'm like, mm. Now when that went out of print, Toho was like, give us the rights back to that. You'll never see that one again. You will never see that one again unless you ride the pirate seas. Okay, you'll never see that one again.
I think that's what I had to do. By the way, that reminded it's kind of like the Cerveza Crystal ads.
Yes,
that sounded like that. Yeah, but I don't know what's going on with the Blu-ray rights, because I have like region 2, so like US region DVDs from everything else except Biollante and The Return of Godzilla. And Biollante was like super out of print as well until Criterion brought it out. So I bought that just because like I support it. It's finally out. And also I love the Eric Powell cover on it. It's awesome. So but yeah, that's it.
So
that's
I
it.
think Well, I think we're at a bit of an impasse here now, because we have a vote for Godzilla vs. King Ghidorah. We have a vote for Space Godzilla. We have a vote for Destroya. Well, I don't. Can I swing you to the Destroya side, Shawn? Can I?
Yeah, you can. Just a little bit closer. I like Destroya. Please do not get me wrong. I like Destroya. I think Destroya is really cool. It's a hell of a movie.
Do it for him, Shawn. Do it for him.
Okay.
Just do it for him.
He's the devil. Like, come on.
Yeah. But you mentioned some great stuff about King Ghidorah that I legitimately did not really think about too much. But there is a lot of really great stuff. I think in my brain, I kind of personally have a running personal joke with myself that I'm like, King Ghidorah fucking sucks.
Really?
Not that I think the character is bad or whatever. No, I'm just like as an actual person who I legitimately hate. He's a person who this is going a little side. So a couple years ago, and I'm still trying to work on it. I decided I wanted to do a death metal side project called Angaris. And it was just going to be, it was just going to be just really this just death metal songs, but it's Angaris just talking shit about everybody.
Yes.
So, and the first song I wrote, which it's actually almost finished, but it's not, but it's called Three Neck Bitch. So that's his view of King Ghidorah. So it's because one of my favorite images of kaiju of all time is just him hanging off of King Ghidorah and Destroy All Monsters, just flying through the air. So I think that kind of seeps into my brain to where I have an unnaturally negative feeling towards the movies, even though I really don't. It's all a joke in my brain. But
look, I do understand that, because I feel like I'm the one guy on Earth. This might come as a shock. I hate Mothra. I despise that bitch. Sorry, apologies. But I hate butterflies in general, in real life.
Okay.
And Mothra is okay, you have to win me over, and she did nothing to win me over. That said, I don't mind her appearing in movies, but every time she appears, I'm just keeping an eye on you. You need to prove yourself. It's the same with the Heisei Era.
All right.
I wanted to love the Mothra movie because Batra looks awesome. But at the end, Mothra just comes and it's power of friendship, and I'm like, get out of here. I just can't deal with you. So I understand your King Ghidorah hate. Everyone has a pet peeve.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'll happily say we've decided that Godzilla vs. Destroy is the best movie of this era with an asterisk.
And because it's the best era,
just because it's a really great ending to the era, I think, and it puts a great pin on it. Even though there's just a ton of it's really the and you can pick any of them.
It's quite a beautiful ending.
They're all going to be someone's really big favorite. There's going to be lots of great stuff in all of them. So okay, I think we can safely agree, soft agree on that. So now that we're between eras again, it's Shawn's turn to talk about a favorite non-Godzilla kaiju film that you love.
Okay, so um there was a studio once known as Daiei who did like
Hmm.
they did like a bunch of kaiju films, monster films of all kinds. And one of a series of films that they made was about a kaiju statue named Daimajin. Okay, and so Daimajin are all period pieces. So like they're set during the feudal era. Okay, so you'll have a town or area which is quaint, pleasant, just people just getting along with their day, minding their own business. And then like your evil villains will come through and try to take over the town and ruin everything for everybody. And so you'll have a few citizens go run to the statue of Daimajin and say, "Please help us. Please help us." Doesn't respond, it doesn't reply. They walk away. And they'll ask multiple times, but
Hmm.
like when things finally reach their peak and the villains have gone way, way, way too far, Daimajin's like, well, time for me to come to life and just literally just wreck everything. And that's what he does. He comes in, he wrecks everything. Every Daimajin movie is that way. He doesn't come in seriously until the third act. Okay, and when he does, shit's over. Okay, pardon my language. And like but like the thing is that you would think it wouldn't work. And the thing is and with each Daimajin film, Daimajin's in a different place. Okay,
Hmm.
and you would think something like that wouldn't work or people would view it as boring. But the thing is that you get caught in the tension of the feudal era, and how these regular people, these citizens that just try people that are just trying to live their own lives, now have to combat extremism, violence, terrorism, and stuff like that. You get caught up in that drama. So when Daimajin finally comes through, it pays off.
Yeah.
It pays off completely. Like I bought the Blu-ray box set a couple years ago. It was on sale, and I was like, I have to have this because a friend of mine told me about it through like some type of internet article. And I didn't even know this existed at the time. And this was like
Hmm.
about 4 or 5 years ago. And I was like, well, that sounds fascinating. And so then when I found it on sale, I was like, yeah, I have to get these. I adore that series because like I said, like it is a kaiju series of films, but it doesn't over rely on the kaiju. It relies on the human experience and how ordinary people sometimes have to go above and beyond in order to fight the BS that is surrounding them. But like, and the thing is, and Daimajin's like, okay, I'm gonna see how far you can take it.
Hmm.
Okay, you can't take it anymore. Okay, here I come. But when he wrecks shop, it's oh man, it feels so good. It
It's
feels so good. Like
satisfying.
I
It's
like
well done.
oh yeah, so well done.
It's
I
like
wish
at
we
the,
had.
at the end. I've seen the first two, and the carnage at the end. I always felt like, oh, this is not like when you watch a Showa Era Godzilla movie, when it's like a bit goofy and like yeah, you can see
Hmm.
the strings and like yeah, Godzilla get kicked in the balls and whatever. No, it's not like that. Like the
Mm-mm,
Daimajin rampage is vicious. It's like I think in the second one when he kills the main villain, that's a quite brutal as well. Like the guy gets like impaled.
mm-hmm.
So like even to a modern viewer, I think they genuinely feel like well done and artistically done.
Hmm.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Because like it literally emphasizes that evil deserves to be punished.
Yeah, and you said it's a statue. So for anyone who haven't seen it, it's like a samurai statue. So it looks like pretty
Yes.
cool
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah.
If
Sounds very
people are into
cathartic.
like Jidaigeki, like Japanese period
Yeah.
pieces, it's basically like that, like a
Hmm.
Zatoichi or a Seven Samurai, but instead of a
Hmm.
samurai or a blind swordsman helping the villagers, it's a giant fucking statue. and
I'll have
that
to.
doesn't sound
I'll have
cool
to
to
check
some.
this out. Yeah, it's definitely a blind spot for me. I'll definitely have to go check these out,
I
especially if it's
feel like
such a high recommendation here.
it's the Arrow video box set is like really nice, by the way. Like even if you
Hmm.
get the non limited edition one, like all the Arrow video ones, like they do really good covers for everything. Because they've done the Gamera ones, they done like a yokai one, Daimajin, a couple other ones as well. That are like really really cool. What I would say about these movies personally, that just to compare them to other Showa kaiju movies, I think they're a bit more moderately paced. Like they feel a
Hmm.
bit not slow, but you don't get that like the thrill a minute. It builds and builds and
Yeah.
builds. More like having the when the Godzilla movies are like stuff happens and then Godzilla appears, then you get more plot and then more Godzilla.
Yeah.
This is more just like builds slowly until it reaches the boiling point, as Shawn said.
Which can be seen as, a sharp contrast to, like, some of the major criticisms about a lot of Godzilla films is that the human stuff is like, just get to the Godzilla,
Yeah.
just, and this is like, no, you're invested in what's happening to these people. So by the time, it sounds like by the time it comes, for the third act rampage, you're just, you feel that release. You feel like you're with them. Or you're like, yes, finally.
Yeah,
So that's awesome.
it's a
Yeah, I'm
good
definitely
payoff.
gonna go check
And
those
yeah,
out.
there is no Daimajin without all the human stuff. Like it's not
Yeah,
like
exactly.
as you said, like oh,
No,
just
yeah,
get this done with
in
it.
concept, in concept, like it needs both things to work.
Yeah.
You know, um, awesome. Well, next up we have the MIllenium Era, which is very divisive. I'm finding online, but it also contains probably my favorite one of my like top 3 favorite Godzilla movies of all time.
Oh yeah.
So that the Millennium Era, and we kind of discussed this a little bit beforehand. We're going to include the Roland Emmerich uh, movie and the animated series within this Millennium Era because it is referenced. He shows up in Final Wars. It's referenced in Godzilla 2000 and all that.
GMK.
So, I'm sorry, GMK. Sorry. It's for lack of better placement, we think we can put it all together. So it is Godzilla, 1996, Godzilla the series, the animated series, which is from the episodes I've seen is far better than it has any right to be based off that movie. Godzilla 2000, Godzilla versus Megaguirus, Godzilla Mothra King Ghidorah, Giant Monsters All Out Attack, Godzilla against Mechagodzilla, Godzilla Tokyo SOS, and Godzilla Final Wars. Balash, which one is your favorite? Which one do you consider the best of this era?
Right. So I wanted to add some. Oh yeah. So the 1998 one. Just I wanted to say. So I just watched
Oh, 90.
GMK, which is for.
Yeah.
So that's the abbreviation for Godzilla Mothra King Ghidorah Giant Monsters All Out Attack, which is a very long title.
Yes.
So the Godzilla fans just call it GMK for the future reference.
Yeah.
In that movie, at the start, they literally say that a big monster appeared in New York, and the Americans call it Godzilla, but we don't. So that is the reason that I said I think we should put that in here. That movie never gonna win anyone over like as like the best of any era, even with its own era. I think we all would say the animated one is better. It has a special place in my heart, obviously, so I'm gonna defend it. But my favorite, I have again 2. I will pick Godzilla against Mechagodzilla because I love Kiryu. Kiryu, fucking awesome. Best Mechagodzilla design in my opinion. No disrespect to the gentleman who designed the legendary movie Mechagodzilla. I know he's active online, so I don't want to disparage him. But when I've seen that Godzilla appear in Ready Player One, and I realized that's the one they're gonna use for legendary movies, I was like, But after the last Mechagodzilla was Kiryu, to me that's a bit. But because I didn't get my favorite.
Yeah.
So, and I think it's a good movie. I think it has just a good, solid plot, a female protagonist, and the female protagonist is like a soldier. Because in the previous movies, the female protagonists were always like either damsels in distress or like psychics. Like no disrespect to them, but this is a very like physically active protagonist. Quite rare, I think, up until that point. A compelling character as well. I think it's just a solid like revenge story against Godzilla. I just really like it. I think the couple of the visual effects are the CG is like whatever. I think this is the part where the Millennium Era suffers visually compared to the Heisei Era. That they do a lot of computer effects that are just not great, especially when you compare them to the models, the miniatures, and the suits. But they don't overdo it in Mechagodzilla, and all the fights look good. My other pick is GMK, Godzilla, Mothra King Ghidorah, Giant Monsters All Out Attack. It's another really compelling story. It's a very unique take on the whole Godzilla mythology.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, Godzilla is an evil spirit, and all the other monsters are sacred beasts. And that's the
Yeah.
one and only movie where King Ghidorah is a protagonist, not an
Yep.
antagonist.
Mm-hmm.
So I
Yeah.
think
Yeah.
that's very unique. And also, I have to shout out my other favorite, Baragon, who is just amazing, so fucking cute. I believe I say she because I think she's the only kaiju who in the suit. It's a woman. I think everyone else was
Yeah.
played by a
Yeah.
man.
I believe she was the only female
Yeah. So based on
performer.
that, Baragon is also, I think, only the second kaiju who is like gendered, because Mothra
Yeah.
is a she. I think there's no other
Yeah.
one. So and also,
And the behind the scenes video of her doing
yes,
the
that's what I'm saying.
growl,
Yeah.
it
Yes,
is like
if you never seen
it's
it,
like
it's
yeah,
cute. It's just
it's just amazing. It's
just go on
awesome. You
YouTube.
know, it's
Anyone's
like
listening.
you wish you would kept that in as the growl
Yes, I
almost.
think they kind of did, because if you listen to it, it sounds very similar, just like
Oh yeah.
enhanced.
Okay.
But maybe they didn't. Maybe just based
Okay.
it on it. But just anyone who listens, go on YouTube and put in Baragon behind the scenes, and you're gonna see like a 10-second footage
Yeah.
when they
Yeah.
kept the
Yeah.
onset audio, and it's just the most adorable thing. And she
It
was
is.
the first kaiju who tried to stop Godzilla without any help. She knew she gonna lose,
Mm-hmm.
but she tried anyway. And honestly,
Mm-hmm.
respect Baragon. I love her so much,
Yeah.
and I wish we got like a proper figure for her, because we only got the Showa
Yeah.
Era Baragon, which I have because I
Yeah.
had to.
Yeah.
It's a
Yeah.
very, like, it's a good compelling story, very interesting take, very good Godzilla design. Like, this is the only time we see this suit without the pupils, just the white eyes, very
Mm-hmm.
menacing.
Mhm.
So it's I recommend this movie based on the fact that it's a standalone one, so anyone can just pop it in and watch it without any
Mm-hmm.
Godzilla
Mm-hmm.
knowledge. It departs from the usual canon, but also doesn't matter,
Yeah.
and the Godzilla design is like very cool. So these
Yeah.
two, but I have to pick Godzilla against Mechagodzilla just because I love Kiryu. Like, that's like my
Yeah.
favorite shit. So
How about you, Sean?
I have to agree with Balash. I have to agree with him. Godzilla against Mechagodzilla is my favorite from that
Mm-hmm.
era specifically. And like I said, design is something that's always important to me. And like because like I enjoy tokusatsu so much, anytime I see mecha, like like nicely designed mecha, no matter how terrible the story is, will continue to pull me in. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
not
Mm-hmm.
saying that Mecha Godzilla against Mecha Godzilla is a bad story. It's not. It's fantastic. Like it's one of the better Godzilla films across all eras. Okay, but yeah, Kiru is a fantastic design, and
Yeah.
it's a fantastic. It's a beautiful balance of action, drama, and
Mm-hmm.
everything you need in a Godzilla film. So like that's my favorite. Now, but the like that's my vote. But the
Yeah.
honorable mention goes to Godzilla 2000, and here's why.
Mm-hmm.
The whole structure of Godzilla could have changed with this movie, okay? So, when Godzilla 98 comes out, and like in Kaiju Unleashed, I have a section about Godzilla 98, and I call it it's subtitled An American Abomination. Okay, Godzilla is like, okay. Here's the thing, because I do disrespect the movie, but here's the thing: Godzilla 98 is a very good monster movie. It's
Yeah.
not a Godzilla movie. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
and like in the biggest problem with like what Emmerich and Devlin tried to do is it's like, oh well, here's our ode to Jurassic Park, here's our ode to Alien, here's
Mm-hmm.
our ode to this, and I'm like, yo, I don't need a raptor chase in Madison Square Garden.
Yeah. Where's your
What
ode to Godzilla?
right? I'm like, well, I thought we were doing Godzilla. What do you mean Godzilla doesn't have atomic breath? I'm not saying that everything has to be like it is in the past.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that like it's a monster movie. It's not a Godzilla movie to me. If we're
Yeah.
following like the quote unquote rules. Anywho, okay. So when that doesn't do what it's supposed to do, Sony goes to Toho, the American studio goes to Toho and says, you know what, we're sorry about this. Is there anything we can do? And Toho's like, yeah, put out Godzilla 2000. And
Mm-hmm.
so they bring it to the States. They just dub it. They don't make any major edits or anything, right? And like, they didn't have to pay much to bring it over. And so like it does okay. Like the numbers aren't great, but they're okay. They're good
Yeah.
enough for that period of time, okay?
Yeah.
So what happens is this: the studio, really liked Godzilla 2000. Okay, and so what was going to happen was they were going to do an American sequel to Godzilla 2000.
Oh.
And it says here, it says Mike Schlesinger oversaw the American version of Godzilla 2000 and planned to produce an American-made sequel to the film titled Godzilla Reborn, which would feature Godzilla fighting a giant lava bat monster called Miba in Hawaii. The project was approved by Toho and even greenlit by Sony, but it was ultimately canceled by Sony's new head of production, asshole, because they did not want to produce films with low budgets of just $5 to $10 million. And that's why we didn't get it. Now, imagine if that happens. Imagine if that happens. How does that change Godzilla for Toho? Do they just continue to do their own thing and just say, "Oh, let them have their fun. It's fine." But like, I would have loved to have seen this.
Yeah.
And that's why, like God, like I said, Godzilla 2000 is okay. Like, I like it, but like, I'm more curious about what could have been. I think that's why, like, it has, like, it still resonates. So yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's solid. I think Orga is a bit fine, but there is a really good shot in that movie, if I remember correctly, when Godzilla comes out of the sea on the beach, and there's like a really like a long tracking shot ending up on Godzilla like stepping out on land, which I don't think we ever seen a shot like that in a Godzilla movie before. It's probably by today's standards is a bit janky with the compositing, but I remember watching it like there's a camera flying over the city, and then Godzilla like coming towards the camera out of the sea. So like really like some inventive things for Toho there that they did with it. And also it's like oh, we killed Godzilla, we're never gonna do it again. And then Roland Emmerich comes out with the movie, and Toho is like, yeah, fuck it, we're just gonna keep doing it.
No, we can't let this sit.
Right.
We can't let this sit.
I respect
We can't let this stand, yo. We can't let this stand. Come on, let's go.
It's a fine movie. So, yeah, I do.
Yeah.
I understand your appreciation for it, especially with the historical context. I had no idea about this.
Yeah.
So
I like Godzilla 2000 as a reset. I think it was a strong, like, you know what? This is Godzilla. This is this. There's some really cool stuff in there. I like the design of Orga. Like, it's kind of messed up, which, that's kind of like my jam for monster designs. But, for MIllenium Era, like, and I'll agree with you first. The Godzilla Emmerich one, like, I feel like, I had started to warm my opinion of that movie. I'm like, it's just a fun monster movie. But then, like, as I learned more about the making of it and how, like, they didn't even want to make that movie, the director, like, and it's just like, I that's one of the things I never understood. I understand, like, money speaks for so many people, but it's like, if you're not going to, like, be passionate about what you're doing, like he could have done something else. He would have been fine. He was coming off Independence Day. Like, they would have been fine. Like, anyway, but for the MIllenium Era, like, the thing that surprised me most about this era was like that I actually ended up liking Mechagodzilla a lot. And that was like, I never disliked Mechagodzilla, but like, and it's not like I have a dislike of mechs at all. I am a kid of the 80s. There's mechs everywhere. It's just like, I was always more fond of the monsters. And as far as a favorite, Final Wars, it's always going to be Final Wars, no matter what. It is not a great movie by any means. It's a collection of scenes, but I love it. It's just fun, even though I mistakenly Googled his politics. Don Fry is amazing, as is this ornery old captain, back then, whatever. Like, it's like the perfect modern Showa movie, or late stage Showa movie, where it's just like, of course it's got my dude Anguirus in there. It's got, King Caesar. It's got like just all this cool shit, and it's just really, really fun. Even the human stuff, like the mutant thing or whatever, like, it's enjoyable enough. It goes by, it breezes by pretty fast. But in terms of like an actual good movie, like, I would have said my main vote was Godzilla, GMK, because I feel like, just like, and even though like I had avoided really trying to like get into that movie just because I knew the history of the movie before the movie. So I'm like, I could have had my boy in that movie too. They took him out. They didn't think people were going to want Anguirus, but I can't be mad that Baragon's in there, you know, like, and I'm kind of sick of Mothra myself in these eras. Like you know, I love Mothra. I love current, you know, we'll get to that eventually, Mothra and all that. But like at that point, I'm just like, does it always have to be Mothra in there somewhere? You know, can it be somebody else? But like taking the movie as a whole, like and basically like the spirit of the movie and how Godzilla's just fucking mean in that movie, man. And that's just like,
He's an
I just kind
asshole
of
in
love
that.
it. Like that scene with the hospital. I think you guys know what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
Mm,
It's just like, you know, it sounds, you know, cool to like laugh about it or enjoy it so much, but it's like it just like goes to show you, like, this is not, you know, jumping up, high fiving, you know, Jaguar Godzilla.
right.
This is nasty. But I can be swayed to Godzilla against Mecha Godzilla because Kiryu is such an awesome design. Like I have both of them right there with the shoulder guns and without, and it's just like
yeah.
it's hard to argue. And it's just as a whole, just a enjoyable movie. Like it's just you know, monster battles aside,
The sequel
even
is good as
so.
well, by the way. Like, yeah, there's
Yeah,
Mothra
yeah, I
again
like
there,
Tokyo SOS a lot too. Yeah,
and like
yeah.
like that's the prime example for me. Tokyo SOS is why Mothra is just not great. But I don't want to say anything nasty again. But
Yeah.
yeah, why do I don't like Mothra? Because Mothra comes in and says, "Guys, you bought a mecha, like built a mecha Godzilla. Stop doing that. I'm gonna defend you against Godzilla. And if you don't do what I say, I'm gonna destroy humanity." And then
Yeah.
she just dies. She gets defeated by Godzilla. I'm like, so you came in, you acted like a mobster, and then you got your ass kicked. You suck. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Just to say something nice, Mothra has the second best theme song after Godzilla. Just I wanted to
Agreed.
say something
Agreed.
nice.
Agreed.
The original Mothra
Agreed.
song from the '61 movie is an absolute earworm, and I love it. With all my
Yeah.
disrespect to Mothra, I still do love that song.
This is all very funny because it's not 100% confirmed, but it's pretty much confirmed that the next episode of this show for Kaijun is going to be Matt Frank, Sophie Campbell, and Roberto Rivero Pedro, the creative team behind the Mothra comic series. Right now,
Jesus, no, like honestly, like it's just me and me
I'm
eating
no,
butterflies in real life. Like, and
no,
just
no,
Mothra
no, no.
doesn't do anything.
I am sure I'm
I
tr-
own the Blu-ray
trust
of the
me.
Mothra movie. I watched it. Like, I'm always trying to convince myself because I know everyone loves Mothra, and it just baffles me.
Yeah,
But at
yeah.
the same, I watched the first Heisei Era Mothra movie
This
as
is
well with
okay.
the Desghidorah as a villain, which is like a really cool
Okay,
design as well. So there is
yeah.
good Mothra stuff out there.
So
You're not a hater like me.
Mothra is kind of like, if your people are fans of Parks and Rec, you're little Sebastian, and
And
you're
I hate
Ben.
like
Like you're like, what's the deal? What's the deal? They're like, okay, Mothra, so great.
no,
No,
I just
cool.
felt too safe mentioning it because I know, like,
Yeah,
genuinely, like, if someone listens to this just wanting to know more about kaiju for whatever reason and just like doesn't understand why I'm going off on about this, like, I think if you watch a movie with Mothra in it, there's a big chance that you're gonna love Mothra because the design, if you like
yeah,
butterflies or just fine with them, the design is like kind of
yeah,
cute because it's a puppet, so
yeah,
I don't hate
yeah,
it like real butterflies. But anyways, let's move on because I think Don, it's
yeah.
you and your special
Yeah,
interest.
we you know, I initially had lofty goals of keeping this, like, oh, let's keep this tight to an hour. We're like
Impossible.
we're near the tail end of things, but like, yeah, I don't want to keep you guys too much longer and drag this out a bit. But um it's my turn to talk about favorite non-Godzilla kaiju thing, and anyone who knows me knows it's going to be Pacific Rim. That movie is just endeared to my heart. It is cheesy in all the right places. It is action packed in all the right places. The designs are great. It can arguably be called more of a mech movie than a kaiju movie,
There's
so to
plenty of
speak.
kaiju in it.
But I think, yeah, but I think just the mix of everything. There's obviously a ton of love for kaiju movies in this film, especially with the soundtrack and, like, you know, it's just amazing. You know, I love the kaiju designs. I wish they were a little bit less wet and goopy. Sure, but it's also a Guillermo del Toro film, so you know what you're getting into.
Yes.
You know, I think, you know, one of the biggest arguments is, I've seen people like saying like, oh, like or criticisms like, why did they wait to use the giant sword? And I believe it was comic book artist Kerry Randolph who stated this in Twitter many, many years ago, which I totally agree with. Is what you're arguing why they waited for the absolute coolest fucking moment to pull out that weapon in the movie? Like, did you
Yes.
realize what you were watching? Like, come on, guys.
Like you are watching a
Yeah,
live action anime. What do you
yeah,
expect?
yes,
But
yes.
also, like they
Everything. I think
could have had a line.
everyone, yeah, everyone brought their A game to that movie. Even people's punching bag Charlie Hunnam. Like, I thought he
No,
did
it's
great
good.
as
I like
the
him
guy.
from Sons of
My
Anarchy.
favorite part,
Yeah.
my well, people were arguing like what's the deal with, like, his character is just like there. I'm like, that's the point. He didn't need to have an arc. He had a tragic thing happen. He stepped away, and it was like, hey, the world's fucked up. We need you to come do this. He's like, all right, let's go. Like, that was there wasn't some huge like, oh no, I'm gonna be feared, because it allowed the other characters to actually have arcs and have depth, and that were much more interesting than why is the white guy sad, and it's, but I guess people didn't want to, really think about that too much. Do I get choked up when, they're saying goodbye to the bulldog? Yeah, I do. I'm a parent. I'm a dad. So it's like, that whole scene, even though, yeah, I know the accents aren't the greatest for Australian friends. I'm sorry. I know you guys hate those accents that they're doing. You kind of sound like that to us, though. I'm just got to say, you do kind of sound like that to us. But like, a guy saying goodbye to his dog, like, who's not gonna like love, like, in a giant monster movie, like, to me that's just like prime stuff. And like, and even that character himself, like, it's like in the scene where they're outside in the water, in the where we lose turn off in Crimson Typhoon. Like, yeah, those characters don't like each. I'm spacing on the Australian team's names. I know it's
Striker Eureka.
God. Yeah, I know. I'm thinking of the characters' names. I'm trying to think of them. But the
Isn't like
younger guy,
Hercules
the
or something?
son. Yeah. Hercules is the dad. Hansen, like, I think is the last name
I think
too. Like, yeah, I've seen this movie like well over dozens of times. Like, I don't know why I can't think of the name right now. But even then, it's like they don't like each other. But like, the minute Gypsy Danger shows up, he's like, "Fuck yeah, kick his ass!" Like, he's not like, he's like, "Oh great, we're gonna die because this idiot's here." Like, he's like, "No, fucking do it, man!" Like,
right.
it's just like, it's just that feeling of like that just like propulsion. Like, everything's being going forward and propulsing. And my dog agrees. He's very excited about me talking about Pacific Rim. So yeah, I just love that movie so much. And I am one of the people who say they never made a sequel.
Yep.
Um,
It's a
Okay.
shame. It's a shame they never
all
got it.
respect and love to John Boyega. I was psyched when he was cast, but they did my girl dirty,
Yeah.
and I will never forgive that movie for that.
Yeah.
As cool as some of the scenes are
Yeah.
in that movie, and some of the stuff they did that I liked, I cannot sanction that buffoonery of what they did, and I know why, and it's terrible. But yeah,
It,
it's
it's messed up because also like okay, there are things about the sequel that I like. John Boyega is
mm-hmm,
cool. The
mm-hmm,
fights fine. The mechs, kaiju
yeah,
fine. My biggest problem is, like you said, like they hurt me when when they did what they did to my girl. Like, I feel you.
yeah.
Trust me, I feel you. There was no reason for Scott Eastwood to be in this movie.
Mm-mm.
There was like literally I could have had a broom with a wig. And that broom with a wig would have performed better than Scott Eastwood. Now granted, I hope Scott
Yeah.
Eastwood never hears this or his daddy. I'm sorry. Like I do not feel that Scott Eastwood is a legitimate actor, no matter how much you pay me. Like, he's just not. Like, he has no charisma. He has no line timing. He doesn't like emote well on the screen. Like, he brings nothing to the table. And
and
so and I'm
yeah,
like, you're putting him with John Boyega. Like,
who
what?
basically is like literally like has a career because of how charismatic he is. Because
Yes.
he was not an actor, wasn't he? Was Am I correct in this? With
I
Attack
can't.
the Block, he wasn't like
Yes.
really trying to be an actor, or at least from the very least, like that one role, like he got franchises off that shit. Like,
Yeah.
of course they did him dirty there too, but like
Yeah.
it's just like, yeah, you cast him up against that, and it's like, man, you got no choice, bro. Like it's, man, yeah,
Yeah.
it's rough. It's
And
rough,
if you
but
watch the animated stuff, which doesn't exist,
Yeah, the
but
I
animated
the
stuff is
black,
like
yeah,
well,
yeah,
I watched the first one and just
I
I
yeah,
wish it
it
was
didn't feel
better.
like it to me.
That didn't
It
feel
didn't,
like
yeah,
Pacific
it didn't
Rim.
feel like, yeah, yeah, it felt
It
too
wasn't horrible.
post-apocalyptic, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was okay. So,
Well, I would say, like
um,
I mentioned earlier, like I love Pacific Rim to death. I think that movie is kind of like what kicked, like helped kind of start this new American era or like Western era of kaiju cinema.
yeah,
I think for a lot of people,
hmm
but I
yeah,
think it had a disadvantage of coming in earlier than
hmm
the legendary Godzillas. Because I think if Pacific Rim came out after like Godzilla versus Kong or King of Monsters, I think the reception of it
oh
would
yeah,
be a bit more
oh yeah,
positive. Because
it'd be $1 billion movie.
I
It'd
think
be a
there's a
billion
lot.
dollar
Like
movie
I
for
was
sure.
just talking to my dad today, and my we were talking about Godzilla minus one, and my dad brought up Pacific
Hmm.
Rim as like a movie he disliked. And my dad is like 60,
Yeah,
so, yeah, early
yeah,
60s. So I'm like, sure, but I feel like if my dad was exposed to Pacific Rim like 5 years ago instead of 12 years ago, maybe his
yeah,
perception would be different. Same with just more casual
one hundred
viewers, I
percent. Yeah,
think.
yeah, yeah, for sure, for sure. Um, and not to like truncate this discussion we're having and all that, because we still have a bunch to go through, but I do have to wrap up pretty soon here, guys. So we're gonna have to blow through legendary and the
Yeah.
Reiwa era before we can wrap up. But so let's get to it. Because also Pacific Rim is a legendary feature too.
Oh yeah.
So with the legendary era, we have Godzilla, Kong Skull Island, Godzilla King of Monsters, Godzilla versus Kong, Monarch, Legacy of Monsters, Godzilla X Kong, The New Empire. Um,
Did you mention Skull
for
Island animated series?
yeah. Oh no, I'm sorry, I did not mention the Skull Island animated series. That was good as well. My favorite, I think, is Godzilla King of the Monsters, just because it has, I think, some of the best. It kept the kind of serious, but like the uh, epicness of Godzilla of this thing happening. Um, while also having more monsters
yes,
and all that. Um, in terms of like, I feel like it's the best one as well, but I would also argue Monarch as a whole, even though it's a show, is the best because it has a really great story and there's some really awesome monster stuff in there. In terms of just sheer fun, I think Godzilla versus Kong. I think in terms of just favorite enjoyable one is that's probably my vote. Let's go backwards. Sean, how about you? What do you think?
all right. Out of all these, I enjoy a lot of them. I
Hmm.
do. I I'm not gonna lie to you. I really love Kong Skull Island. I really do. I
Well,
walked
it's a
into
hard choice for me. I have a I like all of these.
I
You
did
know.
not expect to enjoy Kong Skull Island at all,
Mhm.
even though it has a really great cast. And
Yeah.
like I was like, well, how are we going to do the Skull Island thing? Is this going to work out? And Skull Island itself is awesome. As a
Yeah.
concept, it was visually put together very well. In that one scene where like Samuel L. Jackson's just standing there and Kong's like right in front of him, and
Yeah.
like Samuel L. Jackson's like,
It's what you
I
want
will
that to be.
Right. It's just like this is what I wanted, and I didn't know I was going to get that. I was like, I know Sam's
Yeah.
about to croak, but I'm like, I
Yeah.
still got that. Sam is looking at him face to face, like we are equals, and I'm about to whoop your ass. And like Kong is like, no, son, boom.
Yeah.
It's like, and
Yeah.
it's done, and
Yeah.
and like, and visually, the CGI is really good. It was
Yeah.
really good. You know,
A lot of daytime stuff too, which is great.
Yes, yes, and the thing is that even though it did, like I said, it's not the best story. I had so much fun with it. I think Godzilla King of Monsters is great. I think it's awesome.
Hmm.
But like I had more fun watching Kong Skull Island, and like
Hmm.
and this is someone who's a big Rodan fan. I was like, wait a
Hmm.
minute, I got Rodan and King of Monsters in America. This is great. But like I still go back to Skull Island before I go back to King of Monsters. And
Yeah.
and it's no shade to like any of the legendary stuff. Like I enjoy it, I enjoy them. I enjoy
Hmm.
them because like I know a lot of people are like snobs about the legendary stuff because like it's too American and it doesn't adhere to like the guidelines of like
Yeah.
Toho's Godzilla. I'm like, well, it's American Godzilla, it's American Kong,
Yeah.
like it's Kong. Like this is just how it is over here. However, it's still very entertaining, and
Mm-hmm.
it's a lot of fun, and we have
Yeah.
options. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
there's mine.
Yeah.
there's something for
How about
everyone.
you, Balash?
Right. So I just wanted to address that the Kong thing. Brave choice choosing a non-Godzilla movie from the era. Uh, but it's a great movie, by the way. It's a lot of fun. I was shocked. I like that movie because it
Yeah.
breaks the curse of Kong remakes. Because every King Kong remake was just the
Yeah.
same, like just dead by
Mm-hmm.
the end because of a woman. And this is finally like, no, this is a new Kong, new mythology. We're just gonna develop it further. He's gonna be a player in
Mhm.
this universe now.
Yeah.
My favorite is the 2014 one. I like that movie more and more
Okay.
and more the more I watch it. I think the design works really well. It feels like Godzilla, but it's a uniquely American
Mm-hmm.
Godzilla, but it's still Godzilla. I like Gareth Evans's direction. I think he's cursed with bad
Mm-hmm.
scripts. Like Rogue, no, Rogue One is not a bad script, but that movie was reworked to death, and that was the movie from like 2 years ago, The Prophet or something, the Android one.
Mhm.
But he has a talent of shooting scale. So I'm very excited for him
Yeah.
for the new Jurassic World movie. And I think that's why I watched that 2014 Godzilla movie, because it's all about presenting you a big fucking lizard. That's
Yeah.
all that movie wants to do.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter what you think about
Yeah.
the humans. I think it's fine, the human story in it, but it's not amazing. The whole point
Yeah.
of that movie, when that movie ends, all I can think about, wow, that lizard was really fucking big. And I
Yeah.
do agree that the King of Monsters finally did what we asked for. We wanted the scale, but we wanted
Yeah.
more monsters. I think that movie is exhausting. There's some really good stuff in it. The Rodan Awakening is like amazing. Like that, like
Yeah.
yeah, that's really scary what happens there. I just feel like at the end of the movie, I'm like, Jesus Christ, I need a break now.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah. I mean, they could have trimmed it. They could have trimmed it down and still had a really great, I think, really great, enjoyable movie. It does. There is some bloat, but I do just love so much of that movie. And I think from Godzilla and then King of the Monsters and then like Monarch, you kind of have like those three kind of like really emphasize like this more serious and the scale of things. And then with Kong Skull Island, like I didn't like it when I first saw it, to be honest. But then we watched it again to get ready for Godzilla versus Kong, and I'm like, wait a second, this is fucking great, you know. Like, and again, like just like little things throughout the movie. I'm just like, you know what, that's really fucking good. I really like that. Like the whole, what happens to Shea Wiggum, like, like
yeah,
his like that was like no, you can't like not guffaw at that, but also feel bad because he was,
yeah,
he's a great actor and he did that character really well. But it's just like, you know, I love all the legendary stuff. I'm really enjoying this era because it's different. It is something different. It's not, and because we have what we'll talk about next, the Reiwa era, that kind of stuff. Like it's nice to have both.
yeah.
We're
No,
having our
let,
cake and eating
let
it
me
too
have it.
here. Like,
I
you know,
I kind of
and
just
it,
yeah.
yeah.
Go on. Sorry, go on.
No, my only real criticism of it is like I feel like even though I enjoyed Godzilla X Kong, I feel like we're getting too far away from like emphasizing the scale of what's happening with these things.
I really didn't
Like
feel the size of
like the
things.
camera, like
Like,
it is really feeling just like bigger budget late era show up, which is fine, still
yeah,
enjoyable,
Mhm.
but it is just like, okay, can we pull it back a little bit? Can we have some drama here? Can we have like some just and I think the Monarch does that really well. So I don't know if there'll be some uh influence from that show on the next film because I know it's a whole new director with all that and what they're doing with all that. But yeah, so
a shout out
um
on Monarch to the father son acting duo, because I think that was a really cool idea.
oh yeah, the
Yeah,
Russells, yeah,
by
that's
Russell.
that
Like,
was great.
speaking
Yeah,
of like nepo baby
yeah,
actors, that's one
yeah.
that's
I
really good.
mean,
Wyatt
it,
Russell.
Yeah, he's a good one though.
it's hard to argue like nepotism when like the guy's just good though. Like
Yeah, and
Wyatt
also
Russell's
that
a
show
good
has Anna
actor, man.
Sawai as well, who just won like Emmys for Shogun.
Yeah,
So that's
yeah,
quite a stacked
yeah.
show there.
It's great. So, if we're to call the best,
I'm happy to settle on King of
Sean
the
says
Monsters because
Kong.
I don't hate any of these.
You know, Sean, can I pull you to King of the Monsters? Maybe being the best of that because it's got your boy Rodan.
You can pull me into it. I will I will
Okay, got you.
for this
It's a
show.
great Rodan.
Uh,
It's
it's a fantastic Rodan. It's
I'm angry that he's not been back yet. Like he was like a perfect little
Yeah,
Starscream
he
guy at
looks
the end.
really
Like,
good
oh,
as well.
you're the king
Cool design.
now. I'm going to betray you the minute I can, like it's like I was waiting for that and it just didn't happen. Hopefully with the next one he'll be in.
I just want to say to anyone who doesn't like the 2014 one, because I know there are a lot of people who find it boring. I encourage people to give it another chance, to just watch it as a movie that just wants you to see a big lizard. Like, just try to like. I think most people expected something different, and the rest of the legendary movies kind of done what people expected from that 2014 one.
Yeah,
which it didn't do.
I love what they did with the 2014. I just wish, the comic plate it was a little brighter, a little bit more.
I think they corrected it.
I do love a lot of stuff. Oh, did they? Okay.
Yeah, because I think in the cinemas it was super dark, but every time I watch it at home, I never have that problem.
Okay.
So I think they've done something on the home releases to like change it up a bit.
Yo, yeah, there's definitely been color correction since then.
Okay. Awesome. Well, next up we have our final era, the Reiwa era, which we're also going to put in the anime stuff in there too. Singular Point, Planet of Monsters, City on the Edge of Battle, The Planet Eater, and then Shin Godzilla and Godzilla -1. I don't think I'm speaking out of turn here by saying we're probably all going to agree that Godzilla -1 is the best of this section, but it's also like it's the best if your choice isn't Shin Godzilla.
I like Singular Point a lot.
Okay. It didn't really connect for me, but I like it a lot because of the Jet Jaguar design. I just think it's so neat. I
just wish it wasn't piloted by the drunk old man.
Yeah,
like that's just the one thing. Like, get rid of Grandpa. It was a bit annoying.
For the sake of time and hopefully everyone's in agreement here. Like, I think we can just take the anime movie trilogy and say like, nah, pass.
Just boring.
I feel like it was a huge whiff. It was a huge whiff.
They have the tool to make anything they want to make. It's animation. It's limitless, and they've done nothing. They just That's it. Yeah. That's just the main. I think that's the main reason I dislike it, because it's just boring.
Yeah, like going through Planet of Monsters, City on the Edge of Battle, Planet Eater. Like, and I remember watching all three of those before writing about them in the book, and it was like, and I walked away from it like, huh. And that's just how I felt. It's like, huh. And it's not that like it's not that I felt it was bad. It's just I'm like, once again, like Balasz, like you said, like, what are we doing here? Like, what are we doing here? Like,
there's some interesting ideas, but like just the execution was just like, let's do this in the most uninteresting way possible. I like the idea of Mechagodzilla being a city, but like,
and they just never power it.
Also, it's like you make it, it's like, what's going on here? I think the final Ghidorah design is really awesome and like very, eldritch, ancient one kind of like creepiness, but it's just like, at that point, you just don't care. You just don't care about what's happening, and it's rough. So, but stuff you do care about is, Shin Godzilla and Godzilla -1. And I got to say, Godzilla -1 is, my wife loves plenty of, the nerdy stuff I do, but like, Godzilla is kind of like not really, her jam. But like, -1 was is the only Godzilla movie she's like, let's watch that again. Like, and I didn't think after watching Shin Godzilla that they would like make one that would like make me feel like, in terms of this like modern serious Godzilla, like that would rival that. But then Godzilla -1 comes, and like I like that one more than Shin Godzilla, but I love Shin Godzilla. So it's really just asking me to pick like, Don, do you want like a T-bone steak or do you want a filet mignon? Like I'm fine with both. Whatever you got, man. Like, give me. Like, I'll be happy. Like,
I enjoy both of those movies immensely. Like, Shin Godzilla is the type of film that, like, when you're going through like Shin Godzilla's going through all those phases to get to its final form. It's very like, and I'm not a big fan of body horror. I'm not really a fan of horror movies at all. But like Shin Godzilla, as he's going through those stages, there's some very like body horror type stuff.
I love my phase too. I love my little guy. Everyone, I want the slippers they made of him. I am banned from buying them. Also, because they're really expensive too. Well, they're really expensive too. But I'm banning myself from that aspect of it. But like this little freak, I love him. Like just as much as I loved little baby Godzilla from the Heisei era.
Yeah.
I love this guy. And it's just it's inventive and like really cool take on it, but also very much feels like Godzilla. You know,
I think
it
the
feels
main
like
thing
that
with Shin
54.
Godzilla is like it's a big departure from the mythology, but it's very interesting what they do with it. It doesn't really like butcher the
Hmm.
character, like it still adheres to like what Godzilla is. I think the main
Yeah.
distinction between -1 and Shin Godzilla, and why I think most people would prefer -1, or I would recommend -1 to people, is like Shin Godzilla is a movie that has a take that you, if you don't know what the
Hmm.
take, it's a satire basically of like how the government works
Yeah.
and how they handle a disaster. And if you don't really know that, then you're just gonna be sitting there for a good 40 minutes thinking like, there's a lot of fucking paperwork in this Godzilla movie. And then when you get to the destruction bit in the middle of the movie, or like 2/3 of the way through, that they're gonna
Yeah.
overwrite everything because it's such an awesome scene. But I think for a casual viewer, if you show them -1, I could recommend that movie to my grandma because it's just a very
Yeah.
very compelling human drama, even though it's
Yes.
not as groundbreaking or new as Shin Godzilla was, because it just redoes the 1954 one. Basically, it's another take on it. But
Yeah.
the human aspect is the strongest, I think, out of any Godzilla
Hmm.
movie, any kaiju movie,
Yes.
really.
Yeah.
It's
Yes.
literally just a very, very compelling human drama, and then a big lizard comes in, and it makes it even
Hmm.
better. Like, it's not like, oh, the
Yeah.
lizard is here, we have to do. No, that like when the lizard comes in, it feels like it adds to the narrative as well. And it's
Hmm.
just
Hmm.
the use of the original Godzilla theme, but the new soundtrack is really good. So yeah, it's just probably one of the best Godzilla or kaiju movies ever made at this point, I think.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I wanted to
Yeah.
mention Singular Point because I think Singular Point is, it's a very dense story. It's a lot of science mumbo
Hmm.
jumbo, and you have to wait
Hmm.
like 9 episodes for Godzilla to proper appear. But when he appears, you get a lot of destruction, and probably one of my favorite renditions of the original theme with the addition of the
Okay.
choir in it. It just feels really
Yeah.
full and epic. It's a cool Godzilla
Yeah.
design, the Godzilla Ultima
Yeah.
uh, design as well. I just
Hmm.
have that like
It is a
snake
great design.
line.
You
So
know, I had
that's
plowed
that's for
through
me.
that probably too fast. I think. I think I just went through that series too
You need
fast.
to pay attention
Uh,
to that show
I,
because
I should revisit it and see, just because I don't disagree with what you're saying about the end and all that, for sure. But like,
it's way too
yeah,
science fiction.
again,
It feels like a sci-fi show with Godzilla in it than a Godzilla show with sci-fi. So I think that's the main
ah, ah,
thing, that they should have done a bit more
yeah,
Godzilla and less like hard, like multiversal
hmm,
whatever was happening there.
okay, okay,
Okay, sorry,
okay.
I'm done. I'm done. Sorry, I
Well,
know we are
no,
tight for time.
no, no. Um, so do we feel like we can be consensus that maybe of this Reiwa era, like -1 is, even by the smallest margins, smallest hairs, the best?
I would agree with that.
Can we? Do you think we can, gentlemen? All right then. Well, just a quick recap. From Reiwa, we have Godzilla -1. We have Godzilla King of the Monsters. We have Godzilla against Mechagodzilla. We have Godzilla versus Space Godzilla.
No, Destroyer.
Destroyer. I'm sorry, Godzilla versus Destroyer. And then we have the original 1954. I think that's a pretty solid list there. I think that's great. But this just goes to show, like, even even though we had a lot of agreements, we had a lot of different deviations from each other, and that just goes to show, like, why kaiju stuff is so awesome. Like, there's something for everybody. There's something for every kind of mood you're in. You're in for like a serious, deep take on something. There's a movie for that. If you're looking just for men in suit pounding on each other in a dusty back lot, you got that. I did forget to put out my special shout out for the movie One Crazy Summer with John Cusack, that has a small scene of Godzilla,
Oh, okay.
a Godzilla costume in there. It's a joke, but it's also like one of the things where it's actually pretty cool. It's like a 10-second joke. You could probably find it on YouTube or something. One Crazy Summer Godzilla scene or something like that. It's funny, but it's also like, honorable mention of something that kept Godzilla in I think the minds of people
Yeah.
in
Um,
America for at
I,
least a little bit.
I have a small list just wrote up because we
Okay.
mentioned earlier. I think that we kind of live in a kaiju renaissance at this point because we have the
Hmm.
American Godzilla, and then Toho is making more. But we have like
Yeah.
I think compared to like the mid like 2000s basically up until like 2013 Pacific Rim, it was a big drought with kaiju um,
Yeah. Yeah.
properties or anything. but within the era, we had Cloverfield, the original, which is I think is an
Mm-hmm.
excellent
Great.
kaiju movie, a horror movie,
Yep.
just a nightmare of a movie. It's amazing to watch. Just rewatched it. Currently, we have a Gamera
Yeah.
Rebirth animated series,
Mm-hmm.
which is the most Gamera we got in like 25 years. Highly
Yeah.
recommended
Good stuff in there too.
and then we have Shin Ultraman. Obviously, they keep making Ultraman movies, but this was meant to be or series, sorry, uh, since the 60s. But this was kind of more of a prestige one, Hideaki Anno producing as
Mm-hmm.
well. I don't know if you guys seen the movie Colossal with Anne Hathaway. Nope.
I know of it. Yeah, I have
Right,
not
okay.
seen it actually,
It
but I
is
heard it's really good
kaiju is a
too.
bit more of a metaphor in it, but it is a kaiju that
Yeah.
appears. So it's a movie that impossible to market, but I would recommend it. It's a really good one. And there is going to be a new Toho Godzilla movie coming from Takashi Yamazaki, the director of -1. And
Which is supposed to be a direct sequel to -1 as
yes,
well.
Mm-hmm.
So
yes.
Yes.
Um, there is an Ultraman Rising animated movie on Netflix. If you never seen Ultraman, this is a good starting point, and
mhm.
it's a very,
Okay.
very good animated movie for the whole family. It has like father
Okay.
son bonding stuff in it, good animation, good story, really cool kaiju fights. So don't let the animation style put you off because it's a bit cartoony, but it's a CG animated
Okay.
one. Genuinely really good one.
Okay.
The Sea Beast animated movie from DreamWorks, also on Netflix, I think. Plenty of big sea kaiju in it. And last one, I didn't like this movie, but I think it's worth mentioning. It's a Thai from Thailand. It's called The Lake. I
Mm.
don't
Okay.
think they make a ton of movies over there, or at least not a ton like this. But it is a kaiju movie. I was a bit disappointed in it, but as like a
Mm.
curiosity, and there's not a lot of movies from Thailand I think that people watch. So
No.
worth mentioning, I think.
Well, Balash, thank you so much for putting together a nice list for that for everybody. Like, to go check out some stuff. Yeah, there's a ton of great stuff. I had mentioned earlier, like, if you're a gamer, like check out Gigabash. It's a really fun kaiju game. There's lots of characters inspired by classic kaiju, but they're individually very fun to play. It's very much like a melee game. So you can do mini games with people and stuff. And it's been out for a few years, so it's really cheap wherever you game, Steam,
Okay.
Switch, whatever. And they also have Godzilla and Ultraman DLC packs for a few bucks.
Oh,
So you
nice.
get to play as Mecha Godzilla. You get to play as Destroyer. You get to play as Ultraman. Like it's just a really fun uh, game that you get to just kind of be a kaiju for a while and do stuff. It's really really fun. So I suggest people go check that out, along with the awesome comprehensive list that Balash put together.
And
So
Sean's
yeah,
book.
yeah. Sean, do you have anything to add? Let's people check out real quick, or
I would say like like check out like there's an old school movie came out in 1975, the year I was born. And it was an independently produced American film called The Giant Spider Invasion. It is
okay,
possibly one of the most ridiculous B movies I've ever watched in my entire life. But the thing is, this film is a cult classic.
okay,
It has been riffed by the
mm-hmm,
Riff Tracks team.
okay,
But like I've seen like the regular movie as well, and like like all practical effects. You haven't lived until you see a giant spider being dropped on top of a house. um and it's ridiculous. The whole film is ridiculous, but like it has such a charm to it because it was made for $5 in a dream, and the filmmaker literally just carouseled that film across the country and did very well for himself too, for that
nice,
film. And so
awesome,
that's what I would recommend.
awesome,
Never even
awesome.
heard of it, but
Well,
yeah.
gentlemen, thank you so much for your time and your insight. I really loved having this chat with you guys. We'll have to do it again. I hope everyone else enjoyed it. It's great to hear your takes on some of the Godzilla stuff and all that, and some of the new stuff that I'm going to go check out. Especially since it is the month of kaiju, so let's hyperfixate a little bit and
Yes.
dig in. Everyone, please go check out Sean's book, Kaiju Unleashed. Amazing. I'll make sure there's a link there. Everyone, go check out Balash's books. I love Wolfpitch. It's an amazing book. I can't wait to read a Bite of Pepper. Like that's gonna be great too. There'll be links for that, all his stuff in the show notes as well. Gentlemen, thank you so much.
Thank
Thank you.
you. I had a fun time.